Before we get started with the remainder of Brood War, I want to beg everyone's indulgence. Forgive me, but, well, I'm a powerless little flea who can't do anything, so. I have been aware of the TPP thing for some time, and when it first came across my attention and the general gist of what was happening, I looked at it and said, yeah, right, there's no way now that's ever going to come to be. For those of you not aware, the full text of the Trans Pacific Partnership has been released as it is currently standing as of yesterday. In fact, fun timing on that. And I have actually spent most of my morning reading through a decent amount of the legislation, or I shouldn't call it legislation, through the document and seeing what it is that they want to push forward. Not exactly how I wanted to spend my morning. I wanted to spend my morning researching Starcraft and touching up on my notes, but whatever. First world problems, right? Let me make something clear really quick here. This is basically an open call to anyone who lives within the following countries, and I've got the list right here. These countries include Canada, the United States of America, Mexico, Peru, Chile, Japan, Vietnam, Brunei, Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, and New Zealand, which is all the countries that are attempting to be pushed by this particular endeavor. I'm going to link in chat for anybody who cares the link to the text. New Zealand, being New Zealand and being generally awesome, is the best place I've found so far to actually be able to read all of the text. So you are feel free to do so as well. I'm not sure I necessarily recommend it, but as ever, I put forth the information if you want to find it. And of course, if you just Google search for TPP text or TPP New Zealand, you'll probably be able to find it yourself. I give this out as an open appeal to anybody out there who has the will or drive or gumption or influence or anything to actually do anything about this. Please use it. Please, for the love of God, use it. This is bad. Now let me try and explain why, because I'm not going to go into the full details of it. I really would rather talk about StarCraft today. But this is something that will affect many things, including what I'm doing right now. What I am doing today would be considered technically illegal by the TPP. I'm not kidding by that. If I went to go speedrun or TAS, that would be considered technically illegal by the confines of the TPP. It's frankly ridiculous. Like I said, I've actually sat down and read through a fairly large number of the text. It's disgusting. It makes me feel ill, if I'm just being 100% honest. But let me try and bear down a few things here. Yes, Django. First of all, the biggest problem here could be summarized very, very simply. This is a fairly large number of corporations banding together to try and pass legislation, to pass law. This is the thing, I've heard some people misquote this. TPP is not law. This is not the government yet. TPP is corporations trying to place, to write law, to force the governments of these nations that I mentioned earlier to push this into law. And yes, this will severely have the capacity to severely affect the modding community as well. It's, like I said, this is bad. So the first and foremost reason why this is bad is because it's a company trying to push forth law into the government. Now, I know what you're going to say. Arsh, that's nothing new. That's what lobbying is. And yes, that is absolutely true. That is a common thing for corporations to spend money to try and force governments to make law. This is not unique to the States. This is not a new thing. Getting stabbed by a mugger on the street is not a new thing either. That does not make it good. And this is also this isn't being stabbed in the street. This is them pulling out with a freaking gunship and gunning down civilians in the street. If I could just be so blunt about it. Hi, Rory. I'm sorry, I'm speaking a little bit dramatically because I'm literally reeling. I'm actually reeling from reading this crap all morning. Okay, so let me try and explain to some of you who don't really understand the significance of this. I don't know how many of you know the history of the States, but once upon a time we had a group of people called railroad barons. Okay? Now, railroad barons were evil. I'm just going to say it like that. They were disgusting, horrible human beings who treated the people who worked for them And I want to stress this: they weren't employees; they were barely even people. The people who worked for them were treated less than dirt. And I could actually go down. It has not been passed, Django. Not everywhere. That's the thing. It has to be passed in each country separately because there's not actually a. Again, this is not law yet. Although I do know that there's been a lot of finagling on several issues on this. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. The railroad barons would had no restrictions on them. That's really what the point boils down to. The railroad barons can do whatever they wanted to the people who worked for them and just take their money and take their resources and move on. Any attempts by the government to step in were always side passed because the company would just say, "Here's some money," and the government would say, "Oh, thanks for the money." The railroad barons are the kind of situation we have when we go to an extreme of a company that, or any corporations that are unable to pass legislation. Now, I know the counter argument is going to be levied to that. Well, legislation was passed to stop the railroad barons, and okay, yeah, that's true. Um, However, as we've already established, that only worked when basically the people who were in office were no longer in office, and the railroad barons, if I could be blunt, got lazy. Now, this is my opinion because this is history, and we don't know history for absolute fact. But if you actually look at what happened, it seems clear to me that the railroad barons stopped bribing the government, and then the government stepped in. Finally, after years of the barons just doing deplorable, disgusting things to their fellow man and woman and everything, it was just so. What I'm stating, of course, is an extreme. But the fact that this is not a fictional example, this has already happened in our history, kind of illustrates my point. All that it takes is for it to start. It is the it is nature for people to push the envelope as far as they can into extremes. Yeah, I mean, you could say, well, Arsh, you're totally overreacting. The initial basic aspect of this law, if it's passed, could just be used in the way that they say it's going to, which is, yeah, right. Um, but that's my cynicism showing. So that is entirely possible. But will that last? Initially, they might be like, okay, we'll go ahead and just use it as the ways that we say we will. But if you read the text, which is why I linked it in chat, if you actually read the text, they are not limited legally by the draft in the writ law to limit themselves. They may choose to limit themselves. They may choose to hold back. One of the things that horrifies me most is there's a section here. Hang on. Where was it? Give me just a moment. Pull it back up here. There it is. Hang on. You have to give me a moment to find the exact point. I want to read this word for word. That's why I'm looking for the exact point here. I need to search for something else. Let's try. Here we go. Aha! Here it is. Okay. This is insane. So, one of the aspects of this law is they will retain the rights to criminal procedures when it comes to a case of willful trademark and counterfeiting or copywriting or related rights piracy on commercial scale. Now, to explain what that means, there's a difference between civil prosecution and criminal prosecution. Civil prosecution is what, like 99% of what you're going to hear about when it talks about the courts or lawsuits or all that fun stuff. It's terrible and disgusting and horrible, but it's there. Criminal means if we nail you, not only is it disgusting and terrible, it has all the detriments of the civil, but if we nail you, you're going to jail. That's not what scares me. I'm just going to read this. In respect, this is word for word, in respect of willful copyright or rights-related piracy on a commercial scale includes at least acts carried out for commercial advantage or financial gain, and, this is the scary part, significant acts not carried out for commercial advantage or financial gain that have a substantial prejudicial impact on interests of the copyright or related rights holders in relation to the marketplace. If you don't know the significance of that, what that means is The usage of the term commercial scale doesn't have anything to do with money. And it's not specifically defined on purpose. So they can define it however they want. I've heard people out there who have actually given a fairly large number of examples of this. Let me give you an example. I'm just going to make up right off the top of my head. Let's say I make a patch that makes it so you can play, hey, Starcraft. Because I'm doing this, I told you this would make what I'm doing today illegal. If I was to make a patch that makes it so I can make StarCraft playable in windowed mode on Windows 7 without any issues, which is how I'm getting it working on my computer, how many people are using that? Let's say 1,000, 20,000 people are using that patch. How about the guy who made the Dark Souls patch to make it playable on the PC? By the definitions of this document, that is violating their what do they call it? The trade secrets is how they define it, and therefore being on such a large scale because of how many thousands of people use it would be considered commercial scale, which would be imprisonable offense for making a patch fixing a game that they didn't fix themselves. Oh, and by the way, that's a good example specifically of it because, well, I don't want to name too many names, but let's just say the companies involved are yeah. And what Django says is absolutely true. Um, this is this is scary for a second reason. I've already talked about why this is scary because the companies are moving in and the companies are doing this kind of policy. The really scary part is the fact that this is a multinational move. This has basically never really been done before like this. This is multiple companies across multiple nations banding together and trying to legally bypass law to basically be able to say this is the adherence we will go to, and we have, and your various nations agree to adhere to this law we are drafting. We, the companies, are drafting across multiple nations in a way that basically loopholes law, in a way that basically completely bypasses it. Now, again, I want to stress this again. What I am talking about is the possibilities of extremes of this being taken too far. However, as I already mentioned, and I really hate to keep stressing this, this has already happened. We've already seen what happens when companies take it to extreme. We've already seen what happens when people take it to extremes. It's already happened in history. It hasn't even been that long, historically speaking, since this kind of thing has happened. We need to stop this before it gets passed in all these countries. If we could chop it off at least several of these countries that are involved, we can push it back and say, no, no, God, no, please, no. And it'll several of the loopholes won't take effect, and several of the legality will be set into question, and it'll be sent back to the courts, and it'll be reworked, and at the very least, we'll buy some freaking time. So please, like I said, if anybody out there has any capacity to speak to your government, either, I don't know how the governments of all these nations work. If here in the states, if you could talk to your senators, if you can talk to your congressmen, if you can talk to your representatives, if you can say no, if you can push for support against this, you just need to get out there and say, guys, no, because here's the thing. This is a step. And God, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm never wrong about things like this. This is a step in the wrong direction. If this goes through, this will accelerate and this will expand. It will not be too bad in the first few years, and in fact, if the companies are smart, they will deliberately pull back on this and not actually implement this to the fullest extent that they are legally allowed to, specifically to try and curtail the naysayers. And then they will try to push it more and more and more. This is lobster boiling, guys. This is what is happening right now is us being put in the pot. You understand? I have talked to everyone I know personally, including a few members of my family who are actually fairly wealthy and have at least a little minuscule amount of political sway about this matter. I've had to actually try and sit down and be like, okay, this is what this is, and this is why this is. It is worth noting this is not does not just affect the internet, by the way. This is not just us. This affects basically everything. This affects immigration. This affects foreign goods policies. This affects quality control when it comes to exports. Tariffs are hugely considered. This is actually a very wide-reaching, widespread attempt at literally companies controlling government. That's just what this is. There's no drama here, okay, guys. There's no trying to pontificate. There's no trying to use big flowery words to rile up the people. This is just bad. No big speeches, guys. This is just bad. So if you have anyone you can talk to who can speak to people in government and wherever you are, if you can talk to people in government, the least you can do is make your voices heard. It is literally the least you can do. Please do not sit back on cynicism. Please do not sit back and say this can't happen. We have already actually made movements against TPP in Japan because people have gone forward and said no to this. People's voices have already started being heard in Japan. It's the only one I know of personally. As a result of this, as a result of people saying, no, we're not dealing with this. This is wrong. And for the love of God, if we can knock out Japan, if we can knock out Canada, it's probably going to get passed in the States because this country's terrible. But for the love of God, do something, please. That is my request to all of you. I know I don't like to talk about politics on my channel. I know I try to avoid this kind of stuff on my channel. But like I said, we're being put in the pot, guys. This is bad. I could keep defining the work. I could mention how it is, how it protects trade secrets. I could mention the methods by which they define bypassing DRM, which is some of the most generically worded stuff I've ever heard. I could mention how many companies are supporting this and how many companies are against it. I'm just going to say one last thing here. This is the last thing. Like I said, I am to blame here just as much as anyone is because we've known about TPP for a while. They've been working on this since like 2008, guys. This is not new. Um, I have basically looked at it and said, yeah, no, there's no way that'll ever go through. And what they're trying to do, at least here in the States right now, is rush it through as quickly as possible. I don't know what they're doing elsewhere. I don't know what they're doing in other countries. I don't have information on that other than the Japan one, which I already mentioned. But they are trying to rush this through legislature here in the States. They are trying to just be like, and here's the document. Okay, you're gonna vote on it, right? And a fairly large amount of money has publicly changed hands on this matter. And again, lobbying. That's what lobbying is. I got to be blunt. For many, many years, I have thought lobbying is a disgusting practice. This is nothing new, like I said, but it doesn't make getting stabbed by a mugger in the street any less bad. So, final point. Final point I want to mention here. I don't know anything about what's going on in Canada. I don't know what the hell, how Canada's reacting to this. Thank you, Zen, for relinking, by the way. Final point, though, and I know this is going to sound silly, but some people have looked at my channel and said, Arsh, you rally against corporations a little bit too much. You need to hold back, man. To which I'm going to respond to you with this. Corporation does not care about its customers. Nonsensically, if I might be bold, since a company relies on its customers, but it's true. Most companies, I should say most, let's not generalize. Most companies, especially the corporations involved in this goddamn thing, do not care about consumers. Nothing in that document that I read, now again, I didn't read the whole thing. I don't read that fast, not this kind of document, and nothing I read said anything about anything being better for us. Nothing being better for the consumers, nothing being better for the viewers. It is entirely about pushing for the shareholders because shareholders are more important to corporations generalizing, I will admit, to some corporations than they are than consumers are. And this would be great for shareholders for a couple years. Yeah, I've noticed that too, Zagaya. If you have smaller companies, they tend to care a lot more about their customers. Maybe I don't want to be bigger. Maybe I don't want to be a larger channel. I don't want to get to the point where I don't care about my viewers. That would be terrible. I really do not want to become what I hate. So yeah, spread the word. Do what you can. This is one of those we need to stand up moments. I think because I'm just a guy on the internet. I don't matter, right? But I had to do something because if I didn't, then I mean I'm just as much a part of the problem. So let's play some freaking Starcraft, huh? Oh my god. Oh, apparently Jim Sterling's made a video about that. I didn't even realize this. When did this come out? Oh, this came out a bit ago. Actually, I'm sorry, I knew about this because this was, like I said, I've known about TPP for a while, and I've just been like, hey, Baronessa. Where are we? We're down here. We're down here. Whoa, we don't need this. Go away. There we go. Zagea, there is no law that allows us to do that. In fact, basically, to put this as bluntly as I can, oh, I can't think of what it's called. Chemic, I gotta be blunt. If this is as bad as it looks like it is, and they push it, gotta stress that, and they push it, yeah, I absolutely think that's gonna happen. But like I said, this is the pot. You don't notice you're boiling if you slowly raise the temperature. And that's what I'm afraid they're gonna do. Um, fair use doesn't actually legally protect someone. Here in the States, I should say. Fair use does not actually literally legally protect someone. I've actually looked into this quite a bit myself. Fair use is actually basically the common term for another law whose name I can't remember. Forgive me. But the other law basically is the we don't care law. Here's how the we don't care law works. Legally, by the writ letter of the law, any company can come after you for using their material, period. The we don't care law is what happens 99% of the time. Yes, thank you, Baronessa, for confirming this. Like I said, I've looked into this. The we don't care law, I really wish I could remember the actual name of it, is, you know, let's say I'm Blizzard, and I see this guy named Lorerunner who's streaming my game. I don't care, so I'm not going after him legally, because I'm fine with it. Let's say I'm a new indie developer who makes this new game, and people stream it or people make machinima videos out of it, or do fan art of it or mod it, and I don't care. But by the legal definitions of the law, it is possible, within the limits of the law, to go after those players and those artists and those modders. We just don't because of the we don't care law. What this document is trying to do, one of the 50,000 things this document is trying to do, is trying to make it easier and more widespread what companies could do with regards to that. Yeah, seriously, Samurai. Oh, by the way, one more point I just want to point out here. You guys know that economics is kind of my thing. Yes, seriously, Baronessa. Actually, I'm sorry, I can give you a direct example of the copyright bullcrap. The Super Bowl. For those of you not aware, the Super Bowl is overzealous about protecting the term Super Bowl and their copyright of the Super Bowl itself. You can't even, I want to stress this, because they actually address this. They apply the law as is currently legal. They will go after local companies, and they've done this. They will go after local private companies just to try and get them to not use the term Super Bowl, or to use the method of, or try to advertise the Super Bowl without written consent, or trying to broadcast the Super Bowl, or any other things. They will go after people just to protect, because they're overzealous about that. And I mention this because That's legal. There's no fair use involved there because, again, fair use is not law. Fair use is not a legal defense. We all like to say that because we've practiced fair use for forever, but if someone actually brings it to the courts, there is no fair use. There's just the we don't care. And the Super Bowl cares. Make sense? But economics, right? I actually did some math this morning while I was weeping quietly into my tears. The amount of money that is required to lobby for this to go through, to enforce it, to continue to enforce it, because this is going to have to be maintained in legislature. I guarantee you there's going to be senators, at least here in the States, that are going to be trying to oppose this, if for absolutely no other reason than the fact that it'll get them some more votes. And in order to basically hire and implement the new people on their end that are going to be able to allow this to work, all of these four, see you in a bit, John, all of these four expenses are like think of it, like it's about, I'm just going to do this really simple. It's like this much expense. What was the action on this? So it's like this much expense, right? By contrast, the reported, I got to stress the way I'm saying this, the reported amount of piracy and DRM bypassing that is happening when it comes to companies, which, by the way, is one of the things they're saying that they're doing this for anti-piracy reasons, the amount of loss they're taking from that is about this much. Now, this is obviously a very generalized thing. I actually have the numbers. I'm not going to share them because it doesn't freaking matter. And it is worth noting this is only reported piracy. Although it is my personal opinion that this is actually an exaggeration. It's probably closer to like this. But whatever. This is the reported losses with regards to piracy. So they're willing to spend 5 times the amount of money in order to recoup basically nothing, assuming they even do that. And one of the biggest ways that the companies have been pushing this is they've been saying, well, this will be anti-piracy. This will be this will create new jobs. This will do all sorts of wonderful, fluffy stuff, like make bunnies jump out and give you cuddly, fluffy hugs. I am exaggerating, of course, but honestly, you should hear how several of the corporations are spin-doctoring the crap out of this document in their support of it. But my point I'm trying to get to here is this much money to save this much money is stupid! Is insanely stupid! This just makes my mind explode. Because what is the benefit to the corporations for this move? What is the benefit financially when it comes to the hard, actual currency? What's the difference between now and what they want to get to? Where's the benefit? You're shooting yourself in the frickin' foot. Now, I will tell you what the benefit is. Or rather, I will tell you what I think the benefit is, because I can only come up with one reason. And this is just me trying to come up with a reason for this crap to happen. Because, again, they're losing money already on this. Well, see, it's funny you say that, Chemic, because, and what Formosan says there is my speculation. The only reason to do this is to establish control. Spend all this money now to get a grip on the things, so we actually go ahead and have this control over the situation, and then, long term, well, we can just do whatever the hell we want. Railroad barons. The whole reason the railroad barons were so terrible was because they had absolute control over the situation. Now, what Takoida says is entirely possible as well. It is entirely possible that there's something worse that they're trying to push through. Now, I know what you're saying. How could it be worse? I could answer that very easily. It could be subtle and insidious. What TPP is actually basically a hammer. It's a big old hammer that says, we control you. I mean, seriously, read the document. We control you. Yes, Zen Garden, that is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. There's also a huge amount of support and research that has been done in the last few years that proves that all the anti-piracy crap has been making the situation worse, and that DRM has been making the situation worse. That is at this point a provable fact. But anyways, like I said, Whatever. I want to play some freaking Starcraft. God damn it. Just... I did not want to spend my morning this way. Damn it. But like I said, this actual document went live yesterday, and I yeah. Starcraft. Ooh. By the way, one other thing. This does not directly affect Europe or most of Asia or like Africa and Brazil and fun stuff like that. No Reaper. Absolutely not. Not until Sunday. I can't just restream it legally. They actually don't allow me to. But I will be watching it, and I will be doing a stream discussing what's announced at BlizzCon and talking about it and all that fun stuff once BlizzCon is done. So yes, I will be doing a BlizzCon stream just later. Oh, you're kidding, Lurker. I'm sorry, I gotta say one other thing. One of the reasons this whole thing bothers me so damn much is because this is a part of my everyday life. This copyright bullcrap, as I like to call it, because I have to deal with that constantly in my job. Now, let's be honest with ourselves. I love my job. I love sitting here. I love chatting with you guys. I love analyzing. I love doing the Fallout role plays. I love, all the ruminations. I love it. I love my job. I am so blessed to have this job. Is it no wonder I get so defensive about my job because I am so attached to it, because I am so invested in it. But the copyright thing, I literally deal with that daily. Every video I do, every stream I do, I have to dance a line of what I can do and what I can't do. Now, at the moment, that's entirely because of music. I actually have a buffer, basically, because it's only the music labels that come after me and dinky people like me for copyright crap. But it's still something I deal with daily. When I stream the Starcraft Lorerun, I'm going to have to mute the game for certain sections of the game to avoid copyright bullcrap. Think about that for a moment. I'm going to have you watch chunks of video in total silence, because otherwise they'll come after me for it. They already have. This is nothing new, I already don't make money on my YouTube directly, because virtually every video I put out, someone else says, oh, well, that music belongs to us, so we claim all the ad money from this video. Like I said, daily problem for me. I thank God that certain companies don't deal with that garbage. Blizzard is one of the only games out there, or one of the only companies out there that I have no problems with, and I never have to be worried about showcasing their music on my channel. Thank God. I hope that never changes. And yeah, what Zagea, basically it would boil down to this. They would either have to implement a policy of being able to go through and request rights, or you just roll the dice. Here's one of the things about requesting rights that not everyone fully understands. It's easy for me to email, let's just say Blizzard, and say, hey Blizzard, please let me stream your game. Sincerely, Arsh. And they can respond with an email saying, sure. This is why legality is screwed up, because then they can sue me for that. Because that's not necessarily a binding document, and I don't have necessarily legal right, and they could argue that person who emailed me doesn't have the right to say that, or, a dozen other things I don't actually feel like covering right now. It is possible for them to have a case against me, is what I'm trying to say. So if they wanted to come after me afterwards, they could. There's nothing stopping them from doing so. And here's the really screwed up part. Let's say someone came after me for any reason. Whether I am innocent or not does not matter. Because I still have to go through the courts, still have to pay the lawyers, still have to interrupt my life, and basically make everything worse for me just to defend myself. And if I win, congrats! I get nothing. I get to keep going as if I already had, with all the expenses, with all the time, with all the stress of having to deal with all that garbage, and completely interrupting my life for nothing. No benefit. Puh. Excuse me for my venom. I do not like the vengeance system we have here in the States. I never have. It is possible Chemic. That's the second option. That second option means if I'm going to stream a Blizzard game, I have to be prepared to do so months in advance. We're talking a 6-week turnaround time on the low end for that kind of document to be drafted up and to be signed and to be ratified. 6 weeks on the low end. And I know this because I've actually looked into this. Because I was looking into it for the Kingdom Hearts thing. Yeah, tell me about it, Baronessa. Yeah, exactly, Zagaya. That is absolutely still true. It's a net loss. It's a net negative. God, I'm depressing myself here. Ugh. Guys, I'm thinking more and more I just need to unleash the Scourge and conquer the world. What do you guys think? Should I just do that? Can we just get... every now and again, forgive me for pontificating a little bit more, but every now and again I tend to think what the imperial courts would do, you know, within the empire and the imperium. I think how an imperial judge would deal with so many issues. And it's like, I could just imagine all the companies of the empire getting together and coming to the imperial judge, imperial, governor and saying, we should put this into, the imperial governor would take it. He'd read over the whole document, the whole thing, all 5,000 pages, by the way. He would read over the whole thing. And he's like, okay. No! Bam! Adjourned. That's it. I mean, because that's exactly what would happen. He would look down this thing and say, this is stupid. No, go home. And then if the companies tried to push it and tried to bribe their way in, he would say, oh, okay, well, now we're gonna start putting fees and fines on you for the fact that you're trying to bribe a government official. And then if the companies even continued to double down, he'd be like, okay, we're just going to nationalize your companies now. Congratulations, you are now imperial companies. Go away. Stop bothering me. God. What are we doing? UED! The UED! Okay, so... God, I am so sorry to everyone who's watching this on YouTube. I need to write down the number. What is this, like... 37? Yeah, 37 minutes in. I need to write this down. Hey, whatever's necessary, Shadow. To stop people from being stupid. God damn it. I mean, seriously. 38 minutes into TPP. I'm going to note that so I can put it on the thing. Xenogears? You want me to do a Xenogears Lorerun? Why? Why would you make me play that terrible, horrible game? No! Wait, what? What am I doing? You're right, Leander. I am now prepared to play Stukov. I don't like Xenogears, I must be. Xenosaga's alright, but I don't like Xenogears. The intro of Xenogears was fine. There's some good stuff in the beginning of Xenogears, even though I had to play the game on mute. And I played it till pretty much about the halfway point, and then I've never actually beaten Xenogears, as I've said before. I've never been able to, because the last part of the game just... Oh, God, it's on! So yeah, I've never actually finished it. Since the conflicts began in the Kaprulu sector, the ruling council of the United Earth Directorate has closely monitored its wayward Terran colonies. Having witnessed the steady advancement of the Zerg infestation and the maneuverings of the Protoss throughout the colonies, the ruling council has finally agreed to take control over the war-torn Centaur. Learning that a new Zerg overmind has manifested itself on the planet Char, the UAD has sent its greatest admiral, Gerard de Gaulle, to capture the creature. As captain of the UAD fleet under de Gaulle, your objective is to do all the work so he can take all the credit. You know, I really don't want to keep going on this topic, but anyone out there seen the movie Idiocracy? Because, you know why I can't rewatch that movie? I first watched that movie when it came out, and I was like, oh, wow, that's terrifying. And then bit by bit, more of it became reality. in real life, and it's just gotten more depressing over the years.
Adjutant online. Good morning, Captain. Our long voyage from Earth is over, and we are holding a stationary position near the borders of Dominion space. I trust that the effects from your long, cold sleep have worn off by now. If not, the Med Officer can provide you with additional cryostim supplements. Admiral Dugal has issued a proclamation to the entire fleet via Transmat. I'll patch it through to you now.
Attention, defenders of the United Earth Directorate. This is Admiral de Gaulle. You were all briefed before we left Earth, so you know that we have come here to conquer this sector in the name of humanity. Should any of you have second thoughts about performing your assigned duties, be reminded that if we fail in our mission here, not one of us will be going home. We stand or fall together in this forsaken wasteland. Serve the Directorate. Serve humanity. All other priorities are secondary to victory. De Gaulle out.
Transmat completed. Receiving incoming transmission.
Good morning, Captain. I am Vice Admiral Stukov, Tactical Advisor to Admiral Dugan. I see you've already reviewed his proclamation. I'm sure it doesn't cover anything you weren't already familiar with. Once you get to know the Admiral, I'm sure you'll find that he's actually quite personable. At any rate, Captain, I do have orders for you. As we are about to begin our invasion of the Dominion, we will need access to their primary data net and weapons diagnostics. To this end, you are to assault the outlying planet of Braxis and take control of its capital city of Boralis. You are to deploy your forces within 2 standard hours. The Admiral expects perfect results, Captain. Stukov out.
Orders, Captain?
Oh, crap. This land inside doesn't have any gas. Guess we'd better start looking for another geyser.
Very likely, yes, Pave
SCV
Maniac.
good to go, sir.
It is very, like I said, very likely that the UED captain is simply killed with the rest.
Yes, sir.
As I mentioned before, this is when they were kind of moving away from the thing in general, and they wanted to just kind of sweep it under the rug. So, like Krenzler says, I just wanted to comment on how
SCV good to go, sir.
everything about the UED could be described by that single sentence.
Sir? Right
All
away,
other
sir.
considerations are secondary to victory. You know, it's funny, we're playing as the UED after that whole TPP thing. The UED is a full-tilt, dystopian, militarized, controlling future. Let's just put that out there. We're talking some pretty bad, seriously fascist stuff. We're talking something that has been openly inspired by Starship Troopers. The book, a little more than the movie, but both of them kind of the same. Yeah, I've got a couple politicians lying around. Let's get some gas going. Now, I've really already talked about the UED extensively. I talked about how they wanted them to have different units and whatnot than the actual, than the main forces. I've talked about how they didn't. I've talked about their formation from the UPL. There's a couple of things I haven't talked about when it comes to the UED, though. First of all, the UED is either a plot hole or a Chekhov's gun.
SCV good to go, sir.
Explain what I mean by this. So, remember that the UPL sent out the original ships to the Kapulu sector, specifically to, you know, it took the Kapulu sector ships 30 years of warp travel to get where they were going. Now, granted, they were colony ships, so they weren't exactly going as fast as they possibly could. But I mention that because it's significant to explain just how far the Kapulu sector is, relatively speaking, of course, from Earth, from where they come from.
Reporting for duty. Roger that.
Now, And yet somehow a couple of facts are brought up which I find interesting. First of all, somehow the UED has maintained track of what's been going on in the Capri sector the entire time. For like 3 centuries, by the way. Excuse me, I should say the UPL, because they were the UPL for the majority of it. And the UPL somehow had the ability to keep tabs on what was going on in the Capri sector. Now, that doesn't bother me too much. That actually makes sense. And yet, if you look at some of their information is very recent, somehow.
Orders received.
For example, they become aware of the Zerg attack and the Protoss attack. That happened 4 years prior to this incident right here, prior to what we're staring at. 4 years. And in 4 years, the UPL turns around into the UED, mobilizes a fleet, sends it out here, and then that fleet arrives. 4 years. That's really impressive, all things considered. Now, there are ways to explain that away, of course, but the other interesting point is they have up-to-date information on what's been going on out here, which is only 1 year out of date. And even that, it's actually debatable. It might even be less than a year out of date based on timing. We don't know the full extent of timing, unfortunately. But the idea is somehow the UED has the technology to keep tabs on this stuff pretty much on the fly. And that's pretty much exactly what I'm saying to Koida, yes. Like I said, this is either a plot hole to make the UED more of a threat, or Duran, or the Xel'Naga, or Amon are involved in the UED. And as I was just going to point out, as Nirazaz says, Duran is here, ready to meet the UED, right where they're doing their very first assault on the Terran Dominion, conveniently enough. You see why I think this is not a coincidence. I mean, if this is a coincidence, it is a monumental coincidence of just epic proportions. This is something that would make Star Wars blush and be like, whoa there, man, you might want to hold back on that a bit, you know? Stop being so coincidental. So like I said, I personally don't actually think this is a plot hole. Given that they absolutely already knew who Duran was at this point, and given, again, the fact that they already laid the seeds of manipulation in the UPL, it is actually exceptionally likely that they already knew that Duran was involved in this entire situation, and that's what and that's why things are lining up this way. It is possible that it is just a plot hole, though. I freely admit that. Sometimes a plot hole is just a plot hole. The next interesting point here is the UED, as I mentioned, De Gaulle is either a bad admiral or a leader who takes advantage of his superior in underlings, basically. We don't really know which of these is high seventh. I've actually already talked about this a bit. If you analyze basically all of Admiral De Gaulle's orders and actions, he's not what I would call an impressive tactician. Stukov makes a few good tactical maneuvers, but De Gaulle just kind of doesn't. Now, we already talked about the idiot ball problem, and there is quite a bit of the idiot ball problem here, let's be honest ourselves. There is a fair amount of idiot ball being tossed around in the entirety of Brood Corps. De Gaulle, in my opinion, is probably the person who picks it up the hardest in like the entire thing. He is such an inconsistent idiot throughout a huge portion of Brood Corps. We'll be talking more about the specifics later as we run into them. But, oh jeez, really? Really, dude?
Orders, Captain. Affirmative. Orders, sir.
Let me make my point.
Orders, Captain. Orders received.
You want a piece of me, boy?
Identify target.
Yep. Like I said, one of the first things he does is he says, all right. Oh, speaking of inconsistencies, given the fact that we are at absolute most a year out from having left Earth, why the cryosleep? Now, that being said, a year is not exactly a small period of time to be in transit, so maybe that's why. But I don't know. I personally think that it's a little strange that they keep mentioning, cryosleep and STEMs and how long of a journey it's been, all that fun stuff, when honestly, it's provably not been that long of a journey. So that's one of the big things to be pointed out as one of the potentially plot hole-y elements of things going on here.
I read you.
Yep. next thing I want to point out is, like I said, the UED was supposed to have their own units, and I really, really wish they had. It would explain away a lot of things. For example, how the hell does the UED have identical freaking technological progression in military hardware to the Caprula sector? However, this is actually kind of interesting. There is a way to explain that, believe it or not. Remember, we've already established the UED, excuse me, the UPL, has been able to keep track of the Caprula sector to such an extent that it's kind of silly. Basically having virtually up-to-date information, somehow, on what's going on in the Caprula sector. Again, Duran. So it is actually very feasible, and I love this idea that the UED and the UPL have been borrowing technological progression from the Caprula sector. That they have actually been looking at their advancements, and the invention of the Goliath, which happened during the Guild Wars, the invention of the Ghosts, and the psychic program that started that, and all of that fun stuff, and they've literally been using it back on Earth and applying the innovations of the Caprula sector back on Earth. I love this idea for two big reasons. Number one, it emphasizes just how stagnant the UED really is. Because the UED is very stagnant when it comes to cultural. Of course it is, it's the 1984 thing. Like I said, the UED and the UPL are full tilt, government control, big brother, just, we're in charge of everything, and screw you, and screw personal rights. All of their priorities are second to victory. I mean, really, what more do I need to say to explain the UED, So I like the idea that this is one of those Warhammer 40k situations. Innovation is heresy, right? Ergo, that's kind of what I think personally, yeah. Ergo, remember, they wanted to get here with the will to fight, and as anybody knows, force marching your troops to a battle is a really, really bad idea, right? Anyways. So yeah, I like the idea that the UED has not actually invented anything in all these years, except possibly, like, the Valkyrie, which I think is kind of it. Now, there's another point of note about the UED, which we're going to talk about basically now. That point is, why does the UED roll over this sector so well? I mean, seriously, think about it for a moment. The UED stomps into a sector that's already fairly war-torn and very well experienced at defending itself, and this is the Terran Dominion at their second highest. They will actually be stronger by the time Wings of Liberty comes around. One Marine, really? There we go. Stop attacking me so I can keep attacking you. Thank you, by the way. The UED just rolls over the Dominion and rolls over all their opposition. Just crunch. So I have 5 possible reasons for this. Yes, 5. Reason number 1, plot hole! Nothing else to say. As Dog Andy said, the UED need to be a threat, so they win. That is entirely possible. I don't think that's true, personally, but that is entirely possible. Reason number 2, which Neroz has also mentioned in threat, Duran. Duran was manipulating the situation so the UED would take power. Remember, Duran wanted the UED in power, specifically so he could use their arms, their materials, their technology, their resources, in order to push the hybrid project. And once that was no longer required, gas canisters, I believe, to kind of like little grenades. Once that was no longer required, he then allowed the UED to be destroyed, which is very in keeping with Amon and Duran's philosophy of once a tool is no longer of use, you dispose of it. Which, as I've already mentioned, is actually a really stupid philosophy, but it is still their philosophy. It is the way they think, so that is still very consistent. Option 3. The UED is just that much stronger in terms of hardware. They have better guns, they have better weapons, they have better ships. Now, obviously, this is not true in gameplay because they have the identical equipment, and as I already mentioned, we have an explanation for that identical nature. But this could also be an aspect of bad writing. In other words, it is possible that the original intention was for the UED to be superior, and then they kind of had them be the same force for the sake of the gameplay and the limitations of the time, and so that plot point just kind of falls on its face. Let's just do this like a shrug. But possible. Then we have option 4, superior numbers. We don't actually know... Yeah, I know where Duran is. I want to talk for just a little bit more before we get him to join up. Option 4 is... We don't actually know how big the UED's expeditionary force is. We know it's pretty damned huge. And we know that it's probably the single biggest fleet that has ever been formed in the history of StarCraft, with probably the sole exception of the Golden Armada. It's a big old fleet with a fairly large amount of personnel, which makes sense, because remember, they have no way of getting reinforcements other than conscripting locals. Now, they do actually make quite a few colonial conscripts happen, but my overall point is, I think that they could have literally won through just wave after wave of our own troops mentality, since the UED tends to not really think of their troops as valuable. In fact, if I could pull up a quote here, see if I can find the exact quote I want. It's from the manual.
You want a piece of me, boy?
Just a moment. Being a medic means being a soldier, except I kill in reverse. It's not going to be on here. Darn. Okay. There's a quote about the medics in the Brood War manual that basically boils down to: the life expectancy of Marines has been raised by a full 3 seconds due to the adding of medics to their forces. That's on the UED side specifically.
Destination?
I mention that because it really emphasizes how little value the UED places on its Marines. The final option... Let's see, what options do I cover? There's, well, let's talk to Samir Duran
Captain,
first.
I am Lieutenant Samir Duran of the Confederate Resistance Forces. I've been monitoring your attack against the Dominion, and I'd like to offer you my services and skills in return for amnesty.
Intriguing. Lieutenant, you have absolutely no idea as to who we are or what we have come here to do. Why do you wish to side with us?
Because my men and I have sworn to fight against the Dominion and its Emperor. Seeing as how your forces have been laying into this Dominion base, I figured we were on the same side.
I see. How exactly do you propose to be of service to us, Lieutenant?
Well, I possess intimate knowledge of the surrounding area. I can show you an alternate route that leads to the rear of the main Dominion base.
Very well, Lieutenant. Consider yourself and your men the first colonial conscripts of the United Earth Directorate. Captain, see that the Lieutenant is given our full cooperation. We shall see if he's worth the effort.
So a couple of points right off the bat here. I like how Stukov is immediately suspicious of him. Like, he doesn't even trust him for a second.
I'm here.
It is worth noting that Stukov does have a brain, as we've talked about before, and I like that aspect of his personality. What are we shooting at?
Jacked up and
I'm shooting at another. Yes, Night Forger.
Reporting for duty.
Sigh. Anyways, so I like that Stukov is intelligent enough to immediately recognize how suspicious Duran really is. I mean, if you think about it, Duran is damned suspicious. Oh, hi, I see you're doing an assault in this area, and you just happen to have difficulties trying to get in. And it just so happens I have the information you need to make that happen. Would you like my help? Yeah, no. When I first met Duran, my trap sensors were just going up. Just right there in the back. This just screams trap. I'm way too experienced of a gamer, and have that gaming cynicism going for me. And it's like, no, this is a trap. This is way too convenient. And convenience in war? That's terrifying. That usually means something's about to go really, really wrong. Which is funny. Now, Duran, well, we've been talking about him a lot. This is actually the first time we meet him on camera, right here. And, he's,
Orders received. I'm finished.
he is provably, definitively responsible for most of the events of StarCraft. And I suspect he is responsible for all of the events of StarCraft, going all the way back to the Federation's technological progression in the modern era, leading up to the formation of the UPL. I've already talked about all that. I'm not going to rehash that here.
Identify target.
What are you doing? Pathfinding. God. So yeah, like I said, not gonna rehash that here, but there's really no denying that he is responsible for a huge amount of things happening within this game. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out is, like I said, Stukov. Stukov is like the... I'm not trying to think of it. Stukov basically never really picks up the idiot ball. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, wait a minute. What about that one mission? We'll talk about that when we get there, but Stukov never actually picks up the idiot ball throughout the course of his career. Instead, things aren't fully explained as well as they should, but if you actually... I'm sorry, Chongo. If you... words. If you actually look at the do things and do the SNES RPG thing and interpret, it's actually pretty clear what's happening, and it makes perfect sense why Stukov acts the way he does. It's not incongruent and it's not stupid. It's just unfortunate. I gotta be honest. I was pretty damn upset at his well, at the events that happened. By the way, fun fact: a lot of people die in Brood War. A lot of main characters, named characters with voice actors, die in Brood War, which I point out because it's kind of messed when you think about it. Okay, so... That's 6. And 1 more. There we go. There we go. One-fingered death punch. You should play dive kick, Django.
You want a piece of me, boy?
No, don't do that. I'll talk more about how Stukov isn't stupid later. I had something else to talk about the UED, and I went ahead and ran into Duran. Oh, right, the additional... Okay, so, like we said, the UED could have won so handily because of plot convenience, plot hole, bad writing, because of Duran's manipulations and influences, because of superior numbers, and because of superior technology. There is a final answer here, and... I know what I'm going to do, Django. The final answer is, basically, there's no one reason, is the final answer. That's the 5th reason why the UED could have run over the Kapurlu sector. In other words, combination of circumstances led to a victory which probably was not actually earned. The Dominion was not ready for the assault. They had the element of surprise on their hands. They were soldiers who were bred and fit and ready for war and came out fresh and rested and were fighting war-weary veterans, that kind of thing. If you don't know what I mean by this, let's say you have 2 armies that are equal. And let's say one of these armies is tired and has worn down weapons and they haven't had proper maintenance. And this army is fresh. Fresh off the line weapons, fresh off the line uniforms. They've showered, they've talked, they're rested. Which of these armies do you think is probably going to win? This is another possible explanation for that whole cold sleep thing, like I actually hinted at earlier. In other words, the UED fleet shows up and they're ready to fight. Like, bam! The Terran Dominion is here, not expecting an invasion from a Terran force, by the way, especially not this large of a force, and they're like, wait, what? Oh god, oh god! And you can kind of see how that would line up. I personally think that is the most likely answer, probably plus some manipulation on Duran's part, because, well, as we've already established, he is manipulating everything in this series of events. I do find it interesting, and forgive me for just flat spoiling this for anyone who hasn't played Starcraft, but I do find it interesting how, throughout most of Brood War, we learn bits and pieces of how Kerrigan, the Queen of Blades, has been manipulating the situation and is re-engineering the situation around her to her benefit. And trying, and just, it's like, oh my god, she's this big manipulative villain, and then we find out that she's been played for a puppet, played as a puppet the entire time, and it's like, oh god. This is actually funny, because this is the reverse villain establishment concept in a nutshell. Well, that is also a possibility, nerds. I was going to talk about that as well. I guess this is a good time to talk about that. Remind me to talk about the villain establishment thing later. Or, you know what, I'll just talk about it now. I got time right now. So, here, let's turn that off. So, I think, hang on, are we... Yeah. Yeah, no kidding, Dakota. This is a huge flaw in their base. In fact, this is one of the reasons why several people, no doubt, think, myself included, by the way, that Duran was involved. This is a gaping hole. Just a giant gaping hole in the Dominion defenses. It's so obvious, it's actually too obvious. Every time I look at this, I think, no, they've got to know it's there. Or they got to have done it deliberately. And again, that's why I think Duran was personally involved in this particular debacle. But I'm getting off topic. Reverse establishment, or negative establishment, is when you don't have a main villain, or a main character for that matter, have a lot of screen time, but you still want to establish them as a character, as a force to be reckoned with. So what you do is, rather than actually showcasing them, you showcase the effects of their actions. You showcase what happens as a result of them, rather than them themselves. Yeah, exactly, Leander. So we don't actually see much of Duran on camera, relatively speaking, and yet we see the effects of his actions constantly. This is much more relevant when it comes to Amon, who we see virtually nothing of. I mean, he's practically a non-character at this point in time, and yet we see all the consequences of his actions to help establish what kind of character and villain he is. And oh my god, how many forces are you going to send out to fight me? You done? No, you're not done. Oh my god, hold the line. Hold the line. Whatever, I should get started on my next batch. Hold the line. Hold the line. Hold the line. I'm just gonna park here for a bit. Yeah, exactly, Baronessa. Thank you. Emperor Palpatine is a perfect example of negative character establishment. We don't actually see Palpatine for a huge period of time, and yet the way Vader acts in Empire Strikes Back, all the way back to Empire Strikes Back, and leading up to it, including Return of the Jedi, helps establish the kind of character he is. Vader and Jar Jar and all of them are just terrified of him. Of a character we've never seen. And it wonderfully helps the viewer, the audience, to be like, oh god, what's the Emperor like, you know? I don't know yet, Liberated, but I will find out in... Hang on, what's our timer? I had a timer up here for the stream. 1 hour and 50 minutes, looks like. I didn't watch it personally. I've been trying to avoid Star Wars trailers at this point. I only watched the one because you guys were like, "Hey, you should watch this and do an analysis on it." I'm like, "Okay, fine," which is pretty much my reaction. Funny you say that, Taquita. That used to irritate the snot out of me in the Command & Conquer games. Oh look, it's some enemy infantry. Well, I have tanks. Squish, squish, squish. So like I said, it is entirely possible this is just a series of events that leads up to this, but I like the idea quite a lot that Duran has been involved in this situation. Again, so like I said, this is another example of us... No, Samurai. This is an example of us seeing exactly what kind of person Duran is without actually seeing him on character. And I know you're like, well, what do you mean not seeing him in character? He's right there, but he's kind of not, if you understand what I mean. I'm probably speaking in circles now. Duran may be on camera right now, but we don't actually see Duran. We don't see the the shapeshifter. 3. We don't see the reality of what kind of a being he is and how he actually thinks and functions. We just see the result of his actions and the consequences thereof. Like this base, which just has this huge gaping hole in it. I'm sorry, there's no way that's coincidental. There's just no way. Alright, Samurai, time to psychoanalyze you. So Samurai is this awesome guy who's awesome. And he is the only person so far who has donated for hard difficulty, which I find fascinating. Not actually surprising. Samurai doesn't like speedruns like I do. But he absolutely enjoys challenge runs, so that makes perfect sense that he would want me to be, you know, playing as hard as possible. So I'm with it, Samurai. I understand your desire, your pain. Actually, I will not talk about that, because I know pain better than most people I know. But anyways, so put this up here. Hey, Reuting, what's up? What's wrong with you, Samurai? No. I don't like analyzing people. I've done it. I've done it a lot, actually, in real life, but I don't like doing it. So you notice I'm employing the wave after wave of our own troop strategy. That's kind of for a reason. I basically have 2 units at my disposal for all intents and purposes for this mission. Marines and tanks. Now, I can use tanks. I can. I hate using tanks because their pathfinding is kind of silly, and they don't like to get in position properly. That would have been awesome to Koita. In fact, if they ever do a proper remake of this game, I'd love to see that included. Make it so the tanks are actually viable mobile units, in addition to making them the siege weapons. Yeah, go for it, Night Fortress. Sorry, you asked a question. Whenever I sit down to write, I almost always start with an outline. I almost always have some kind of general idea of the framework, is what I like to think of it as. Yeah, I'll just leave them to die. And once I have the framework, I'm like, okay, this is how I'm going to start fleshing it out. You start with the bones, then you add the meat, and then you polish on the skin. If that analogy makes any sense. I'm sorry, Reuting. I apologize. I could do a suicidal firebag rush, actually. I could do that. Or I could do a suicidal marine rush. Both of these are options. Wonderful. Amazing options. Hey, Liquid Fox. What's up? Please don't rewatch the first 37 minutes of this VOD. It contains depressing information. Which I'm still recovering from. Oh my god. Now, you notice I got my headphones off again. That's because I have received total confirmation that the UPS guy is supposed to show up today. If he doesn't, then I'm officially going to start complaining and make some phone calls and whatnot. Because, damn it. But yeah, look at this. This is such a hole in their defenses. This is kind of silly, really. Favorite mech in each class of mech. I forget the name of it. I believe it's the Puma. Is my favorite of the... I believe that's a light? It's a light or a medium. Now, mediums and... Lights, mediums, and heavies tend to blend for me, if I'm being 100% honest. Come on, get over here. Wave after wave of my own troops. Wave after wave. Okay, so the Puma is definitely my favorite light. In MechWarrior 4, Mercs, the one we were talking about the other day, I used that mech for forever. Like, even when I got access to bigger mechs and clanner mechs, I am a huge preferer of clan mechs, obviously. I was like, nope, I'm sticking with the Puma. I love that thing. I could do a lot with that thing. I had it set up in a very specific setup, which was basically full-on glass cannon, high speed, 2 ER CPPCs, and that's it. And relying on maneuverability and good aiming and skill to stay alive and outflank enemies and kind of take them out bit by bit. Fun setup. My favorite medium is kind of tricky. And I'm trying to think of a good medium, because, like I said, mediums and heavies blend for me. Hey, Lulu. So, for example, the... kind of run out of stuff to talk about anyways. Fair enough, Kelson. Words. The Summoner is a good one I like. I also, of course, have fondness of the Timberwolf and the Direwolf. Although I gotta be honest, my favorite my favorite assault has always been the Marauder 2C. And that's pretty much entirely because of MechWarrior 2, the original MechWarrior 2, because that was my main mech in that game, and it was wonderfully amazing. It's also the mech that introduced me to the ERPPCs. ERC PPCs. The game's muted? There should be music. There's music. We're good. We've got music. We're good, guys. False alarm. It shouldn't be prog. Not for another, like, hour and a half. Let me double check that. Hang on. Yeah, no, that should be happening. Shouldn't be happening until an hour and 42 minutes from now, according to this. What's this? You got me looking now. Aw, that's only for people who are physically there. Fun fact, I'm not 100% sure how my virtual ticket's going to work. Like, I haven't received a link... No, this is still Brood War music. I haven't received a link to, you know, how I'm supposed to be watching the thing yet. So it's like, Oh, actually, Liquid, there's two answers to that. First of all, they do have the Leviathan, which is a city-sized ship, basically, organism, that his only purpose is being a carrier. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the Zerg do have the ability to create warp holes, basically wormholes in space, and use those to travel from destination to destination. The swarm can also move more mundanely, which obviously takes more time. So this is what, 6? 4. Yes, they are, sure. The Brood War missions in general are pretty difficult. I'm sorry, no, I missed your second question. What was it? If they just flag my account, then I'm good. I don't know how the heck they'd flag the account, but hey. Like, seriously, how do they... Yeah, whatever. Actually, that's a good question, Takoida. Basically, the closest equivalent the Zerg have to the Battlecruiser and the Carrier is the Guardian, of all things, which is basically an aerial siege unit, which is really, really strong, all things considered, but mostly because of its range and the sheer amount of damage it can put out. It also cannot attack other air. If you have Guardians plus Mutalisks, you have a recipe for destroying the crap out of anything, so... Ooh, my minions. Aha! I'm apparently going to have to do that. I'm going to have to give my Twitch access to BattleNet. Let's see, how do I didn't get any instructions when I bought the virtual ticket, so I'm not 100% on how to make this work. Twitch. What do I got here? Access to BattleNet. Let's see. I didn't get any instructions when I bought the virtual ticket, so I'm not 100% on how to make this work. I'll figure it out. Anyways, but yeah, Leviathans are the other thing they have, although that's more a lore thing than a gameplay thing. I'll figure it out. Anyways, but yeah, Leviathans. Absolutely, Night Forger. If I'm doing some kind of a rewrite, especially what I call a proper remake style rewrite, I would definitely be keeping in mind the whole picture when doing the remake, rather than just the one sliver of what the people writing the original episode knew at the time. Absolutely and definitely. What I call a proper remake style rewrite, I would definitely be keeping in mind the whole picture. I'm still looking to get. Hang on. Looks like we've got it here. What the people writing the original episode knew. Aha! What do you know? There it is. Yeah, let's go ahead and link BattleNet, which I can do real quick. That. Aha! What do you know? There it is. How do I? But how do I? Go ahead and link. So BattleNet is linked, but it didn't make me log into BattleNet, so I'm not sure how it knows which BattleNet is me. Oh shoot! Sorry. I didn't realize I had that up still. Sorry. No headphones. Well, Kimmick, like I said, there will be a fairly large amount of death happening in Brood War here. And it's not unique to that. Actually, there isn't, Andre. Unlike in Warcraft 2, which I know this, there's a cheat in Warcraft 2 to basically make all your guys kill the crap out of everything. Like, instantly. So how do I showcase that it's me? Like, seriously, how do I do this? Yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna assume it knows it's me somehow. You know what I would really like? If there was a, if there was like a shipping thing that you can, oh, we're done. Yay! If there was like a shipping thing you could do, where instead of telling you it'll arrive today, it could be like it's on the thing. It has an ETA of like this range, rather than it'll arrive by 8 p.m., which is terrible. You know, giving me something more concrete than that. The Dalarian shipyards.
Receiving incoming transmission.
Captain, Vice Admiral Stukov has informed me of your flawless sortie upon Braxis. I must commend you for beginning our campaign with such a decisive victory. Our TAC teams have decrypted the Dominion's data link and have gained access to Mengsk's most guarded files. However, our work is not yet complete. We have ascertained the location of the Dalarian shipyards. These shipyards, serving as a fueling and repair station for the Dominion, house a number of functional battle cruisers in dry dock. To assure that our domination of this sector remains uncontested, you are to assault the shipyards and liberate as many of these capital ships as possible.
Gentlemen, I recommend that you launch this attack using the utmost caution. Dominion Command can typically reinforce its outlying bases within 16 standard hours. You should expect some sort of reprisal from Emperor Mengsk shortly.
Ah, the turncoat. I suggest that you pay keen attention to rank when you address the captain and myself, Lieutenant Duran. Is that understood?
Of course, Admiral.
You're beginning to show your age, Gerard. Give the boy some credit. He just tipped us off to a preeminent attack.
However useful he may prove to be, Alexei, he will always be a traitor in my eyes. And you know that I cannot abide a traitor.
Only too well, Gerard. Captain, when you are ready, you may commence with the operation. Once you have commandeered the enemy's battle cruisers, be prepared to repel the Dominion reinforcements when they arrive.
Yeah, I have to admit, it is kind of funny that Duran just kind of happens to be in on this briefing. A lieutenant who isn't even part of the UED. He's basically a colonial construct, as mentioned earlier, and he just happens to be here in on this briefing. It is, of course, totally logical that Duran has access to this information. Once again, this is more evidence that Duran is basically helping the UED in their conquest. It makes a lot of sense, especially given what's happening here. Whether or not this is a good call on Gerard's part, De Gaulle's part, excuse me, is debatable.
You'll need to escort our pilots to the battle cruisers themselves. They will be able to commandeer the ships and turn them over to our control.
So, this is our gimmicky mission. It's also where we introduce medics.
All right, troops, listen up. Each squad will have a medic assigned to it to patch up the wounded, but that doesn't mean you can get careless. Stay frosty and get the job done.
How y'all doing?
Commander.
So,
Rock and roll.
medics,
Did
right?
someone page me? I'm on the job.
Medics are interesting. you'll notice they're auto-healing. Do you see that? Do you see that? This is the very first time auto-cast was ever a thing in the history of ever, basically. For the first time ever, they had that technology kind of advanced. And it's actually really wonky. But basically, if you have them do attack moves, even though they don't have an attack, they'll do it and start, healing up around them. Which is awesome and makes medics actually useful. By which I mean, if you had to actually click a medic, an individual medic, like you would do other casters, hit heal, and click the injured target, medics would be freaking useless unless you have godlike micro skills.
Need medical attention?
I'm not saying it's not possible, I'm just saying, yeah, freaking right for people like me, for whom it is not possible. So, really well done on Starcraft, or on the people's, Now, the thing is, the medics having AI is still kind of terrible, and as you noticed, it's entirely possible to still lose people to that bad pathing. In fact, I'm amazed I didn't lose a guy just now for that.
Let's move.
My macro is not. I have trouble selecting the right units at the right time, and occasionally I forget hotkeys, so... So this is an interesting little mission.
Standing by.
Where does it hurt?
Yeah, one guy can pilot a whole battlecruiser. Apparently they've been taking lessons from the Protoss
Your forces are
or
under
something.
attack.
And one thing I love about this mission is, again, this is a great gimmick mission. Oh, right, I was talking about DeGaulle. And what DeGaulle is doing here does make sense. So I will freely admit...
I'm sending you a few backup pilots.
Whoops.
Our pilots are a valued resource, Captain. Watch over them carefully.
That's right. If you actually lose your pilots, you get one... I think it's just the one refresh of pilots. If you lose those pilots, you lose the mission. So I completely spaced. There was another bunker there.
How y'all doing?
Whoops. Anyways, this is arguably the one time DeGaulle actually makes a sound tactical decision. So I will freely admit I was wrong. He makes one good tactical decision in the course of this campaign. And then he immediately hands it off to someone else to deal with without actually sending in, I don't know, anything necessary to make this happen. Now, I could be just being too harsh on DeGaulle because he's an idiot later on, but honestly, the fact that he doesn't send in anything to a shipyard that is, like, still has ships in dry dock is very questionable. He doesn't send in, he doesn't send in an army, he doesn't send in his fleet, he doesn't try to just claim the entire shipyard and then push in people. No, he sends in tiny little elite groups and tells the captain, make this work. Can I have a little more backup, Admiral? Just a little? No? Okay. Now, the other thing I want to point out is, once again, DeGaulle hasn't actually picked up the idiot ball yet. He will. Oh, he will. But he hasn't yet. And, oh, God, what just... Oh, God, that was a frickin' tank. He will absolutely be picking up the idiot ball, but he's already kind of hinted at the direction that's going to go in fact, because remember his initial reaction. Stukov is his old and best friend. The two of them actually probably has a fairly large amount of experience and camaraderie and God knows what else that they had going between themselves. Sure. What's flare? What's flare? Ugh! Okay.
I'm on the job.
Go, everyone,
Did
go!
someone page me?
Go!
I'm on the job.
God, why can't I see up hills? Frickin' line of sight crap. But yeah, the idea is that it's a stealth mission, so there are ways to make it make sense. I'm not arguing it doesn't. I'm just very biased against DeGaulle because he's an idiot later on, and it pisses me off that he's an idiot later on and
I'm on the
gets
job.
Stukov killed. I do also like the structure of this mission. The entire first part of this mission, take it where you can get it, Shadow.
What's up?
The entire structure of this mission is... Come on. Yes. Stealth. And by the way, here's like 20 battle cruisers. Go fight the enemy. And the last... I love this because the last part of this mission is literally all about... is all about you having just a big-ass fleet of battlecruisers versus an enemy fleet, which is just a big-ass fleet of battlecruisers. It's a great juxtaposition. It's a great way to be like, okay, you've snuck around with a tiny force with barely the ability to function, and now you're allowed to move freely. Now you can do whatever. Have fun. And you're allowed to just have fun with it. It's great. It's some great level design. Which again goes back to how Brood War is awesome. Whoa, there's a tank there. There's a tank. There's a tank. Yeah. Forgot there was a second tank. Decloak. Oh crap, I didn't get to target him. What the hell? Hit him. There we go. God. Targeting.
No sweat. Call the shot. Howdy. All right.
So anyways, that's what I was saying.
Battle cruiser.
This also it goes away towards explaining how it is the UED was able to roll over the Dominion. If the UED was able to claim a fairly large number
We've got 4 nukes on standby, awaiting your orders.
of enemy battlecruisers. Do I have anything else to say? Let me think about this.
Call the shot. I'm all over it.
So I almost never... Whoa! Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
Never know what hit him. I'm all over it.
Nuclear
What?
launch detected.
Oh. They killed the medic. Medic was like, I'll come and heal you. Ugh. So this is what a nuke does in Starcraft. It's actually really pathetic. I never use nukes if I can avoid it, because unless you're basically cheating, aka you have scripts to make the nukes more useful, they're a colossal waste of everything. They're too easy to counter, and they simply don't do enough damage to be worth the effort.
I hear that.
It's not to say they are completely useful. Go for it, Django. I approve of your suggestion. Soviet Union!
Never know.
Never give up. Never surrender.
I'm all over it.
Nuclear launch detected.
That said, I used to do versus missions against harsh AI. Yeah, go for it, I must be. Or the hardest AI, just for fun and for practice. One of the things that the AI was really good at is really using nukes well. And one of the most terrifying things you could ever hear when playing against the AI was nuclear launch detected, because that pretty much means it's a bad thing. And you're like, oh god, quick, look, there's gotta be, where's the red dot? Where's the red dot? There it is, quick, go! And hopefully you were ready to take it out, because you basically have about 10 seconds. Yes, I've played FF12 and it is an awesome game. Revenant Wings is a terrible game, which I spit all over. Seriously, I don't like Revenant Wings. Okay.
I'm all over it.
We have one more nuke, I believe.
I hear that.
Yeah, FF12 has gotten a lot of bad press, but shrug. That's really my response to that, is shrug.
I'm gone.
I have done Rumination. I've even done a live marathon
All
playthrough.
over it.
It was a lot of fun.
Comlink online.
No, you're Marines.
Channel open.
Yeah, the newest FF is always the worst FF. Sourdough.
Acknowledged, HQ.
You call the thunder and I'll bring the whirlwind, or whatever they say.
What's up? Yep.
Go there, you go there.
Comlink online.
Hey, Goliath, why don't you go up where I told you to go with your terrible AI? Oh my god. I actually read that, by the way, Shiryu, and I just wanted to say that that was an awesome read, and you flatter the crap out of me. But seriously, even regardless of any flattering, that was an awesome read. Believe it or not, Shadow, there are people who think FF6 is the worst FF, yes. That's not a joke. It's not an exaggeration. Most of those people work at Square.
Hey there.
Again,
What's up?
not a joke.
How y'all doing?
Not exaggeration.
I'm going.
Systems functional. Navcom locked.
Well, that's kind of the Earthbound effect, I think. Oh yeah, absolutely. And it shows. Oh, that's right, they have mines around here.
Your forces are under attack.
There we go. Oh, I'm absolutely going to be doing both characters. I've already planned out how I'm going to make this work. I just really hope my package arrives in time.
Target designated.
It might not. Make sure there's no other mines. There aren't.
Howdy.
So let's keep going.
Yep, sure thing.
Yes, the Earthbound effect. Earthbound, when it came out, bombed. It did not sell well at all. It was a huge financial flop. And then over time, people were like, well, hey, let's actually play this game. Oh, this is actually a good game. I'm going to tell my friend Bob. Bob plays the game. Hey, this is actually a good game. Why don't I go and tell my friend Jim? He tells his friend Jim. Oh, this is actually a good game. See, this is the funny thing. This has happened so many times. Yes, Kevin. This has happened so many times that it's a little bit silly, but it's logical because it all comes down to marketing. If I can explain for a moment, the initial marketing release almost always determines the initial success and popularity of a work.
Heads up, we got company.
Like, oh god, no, no, lockdown, no. Seriously, I hate lockdown.
We gotta shake this lockdown pronto! Medic, restore us!
Oh yeah, that's
Did
right,
someone
medics can
page me?
restore lockdown.
I'm on the job.
Be healed.
Your
Just
forces
lying
are
around,
under
okay.
attack.
God, what are you doing? Get the hell out of Dodge. Ah, stop. Stop. Anyway, so there's a terrible marketing gimmick,
Where does it
or a
hurt?
terrible marketing campaign, and they're like, okay, that didn't go over well. And so the game doesn't sell well, or the movie doesn't sell well, or the book doesn't sell well, or the show doesn't sell well. And that sucks, because over time, things that have been released are more accessible. Like, this is just true universally. Anything that has come out, the longer it's been out, the easier and cheaper it is to get a hold of it, right? But this is just how things work. So, I'll use Earthbound as the example. People didn't really buy Earthbound when it came out, except for a few people, and I am one of those people. I bought it like the frickin' day it came out. It was awesome. It worked well. But I bought it because of Nintendo Power, and I'll freely admit that. Most people didn't buy it. A huge amount of people didn't buy it. Most people just kind of bypassed it because the marketing campaign for Earthbound was terrible here in the States. And the only reason most people bought it in Japan was because of Ettore and the fame he had amongst the community at that point in time. So, let's see here. So, but the thing is, any work, you know, when the price lowered, more people were willing to try it. And the people who had already tried it had a chance to tell other people about it. Word of mouth does not happen immediately. Even now, in the digital age, word of mouth does not happen immediately. So, let's say I play a game and I love it and I share it with you guys. You're like, oh, this is cool. Absolutely, Lilu. Although I probably should just start cheating in this mission. I don't have anything else to say about this mission. So let's say you're, I tell you about a game and you love it, and then you tell someone you know about a game and then they love it, and so forth and so on. Word of mouth just slowly spreads, right? That's why we have the Earthbound effect. That's why we have that kind of a situation where something initially does poorly financially, and then is well received critically later on. Does all make sense? And like I said, FF12 is another good example of this. FF12 came out, and a lot of people were like, what the hell is this? This isn't a Final Fantasy. This is terrible. Ugh. And of course, it was really badly marketed. FF12 had really bad support when it came out. Then, not too long after that, people who were not the initial marketing bundle got a hold of copies of FF12 relatively cheap, started playing, and were like, this is pretty cool. And that's why a lot of things tend to be well received after they come out. This is a very common thing, pretty much across all aspects of fiction. Not making any sense. I notice everyone's just talking about FF13 now, again. Do you remember during the Final Fantasy Marathon where I had to actually institute a rule to not discuss FF13 because it was getting so commonplace, and it was actually overriding other discussions that I had to be like, okay guys. You remember that? Anyone remember that?
No sweat.
Yeah, that was some good times.
Battle cruiser operational.
Captain, we are
So this
tracking
is so
a large
cool.
fleet of Dominion ships in your vicinity.
This must be the reinforcements that Lieutenant Duran warned us about. Captain, prepare our newly acquired fleet to battle the intruders.
Hailing frequencies open.
So you have a little bit of
Set a
time
course.
to get your fleet together here.
All crews reporting. All crews reporting.
And like I said, they just give you a
Good
big old
day,
fleet and say, have fun.
Take it slow.
Man, those pilots are amazing. You ever wonder why Wedge is so well beloved? That's
Hailing
why.
frequencies open.
So,
Captain, we are being hailed by the Dominion flagship NORAD 3.
Well now,
Duke!
I don't know which militia y'all are from, but I advise you to back down, now. I'm General Edmund Duke of the Dominion Armada, and in the name of Emperor Mengsk, I order you to surrender your forces immediately and unconditionally.
Ah, General Duke. I expected your forces to arrive sooner. You should know that we represent not one of your ragtag peasant militias, but the combined might of the United Earth Directorate.
Earth Directorate? You mean to tell me you've come all the way out here from Earth?
That is correct, General. We're here to take control over this sector and its occupants for the betterment of mankind.
Over my dead body. I don't care where you're from, son. No one pushes around the Terran Dominion on my watch. All units, fire at will.
I love Duke.
All
I love that
crews
line.
report.
Earth Directorate? You mean came all the way out here from Earth?
Take it slow.
I love that. I also love how he immediately doesn't
Good day,
back down.
Commander.
Even though he's about to
Set
lose
a
this
course.
match, which is a bit of a shame.
Good day, Commander.
So, this is my usual strategy for this one.
Not enough energy.
Good day, Commander.
Not enough energy.
Yeah, no kidding, Lily.
Hailing frequencies open. Good day, Commander. Receiving transmission.
This is the power of focus fire, by the way. The AI will almost never focus fire. Any good player will know how to focus fire properly. It's one of the reasons why... You notice I haven't even taken a loss yet. Oh, I have power overwhelming. Damn it! I was about to be all pleased that I hadn't taken a loss yet. Normally I lose about one cruiser in that fight. I just want to talk about that really quick. I forgot I had the cheats on. I totally forgot that. Probably not as sure, but we'll see. Anyways, just a really quick note. I like how they bother to try and differentiate the British from the Australians. Excuse me, the United Earth Directorate from the Caprula Sector people. Because by literally having most of the UED people have foreign accents, while have most of the people here in the Caprula Sector have that southern drawl. Some people have decided to read into that and be like, oh, Blizzard's making a statement about how this and that and are stupid. I don't think that's the case, if I could be blunt. I think they only did it to help differentiate, and for no other reason. The only purpose in doing so was to give an automatic audio cue so that the UED sounded different than the Caprula Sector people. It is worth noting that even if everyone speaks English, we are going to have a variety of accents and different dialects that are going to crop up as a result of that. And obviously they wouldn't crop up like this, but shrug. I do also... I almost wish that Duke had actually won this battle, as weird as that sounds, but this is definitely the wake-up call for the Dominion, and will shape a few things to come. Oh, quick note about Edmund Duke. I mentioned he's loyal. Note that he's still loyal. Prior to this incident, there was a circumstance where his son, Mengsk's son, Valerian, he was on an Emotion world, and basically Umoja had a really particular arrangement with the Dominion. And Mengsk, because he didn't want to bother with the Emotions, and because he had a little bit of degree of respect for them for what they did for him back in the day, honored that agreement, which meant they were very restricted on the types of vessels they could bring into Emotion space. And I mean really restricted. So he basically comes down to Emoja. The Emperor of the Dominion comes down to Emoja, unguarded and unprotected in a mining ship. You could probably guess how that turned out. Yes, he was attacked by former Confederacy agents who were hiding in the area and were determined to kill him. And to be honest, the only reason Mengsk survived is because Duke, Edmund Duke, looked at the order, looked at the situation, and said, screw the treaty, and took his entire fleet in. The whole fleet that Duke was commanding at the site. The Emojans didn't like that much, but neither did Mengsk. I mean, Mengsk liked being rescued. He didn't like the fact that he had to be rescued in someone who was supposed to be his allies. That pretty much soured any remaining relationship between the Emotion Protectorate and the Terran Dominion. I'll talk more about Valerian in specific later. I just wanted to mention that because Duke, like I said, it's weird. Duke really is loyal. That's also weird because Mengsk tried to kill him once. In between him becoming the leader of the Terran Dominion and the events here, Ed Mengsk sent Duke out on a suicide mission, which Duke succeeded at. And Duke comes back, and from that point on, Mengsk was loyal to Duke. Mengsk never actually tried to make any attempts on his life again. But it's hilarious to me that Mengsk was like, maybe I should kill this guy off. I'm not sure if I can trust him. And so he betrays the guy he's not sure he can trust. And then Duke comes back alive and well and still loyal. And then at that point, Mengsk is like, okay, you've earned your post. This is also the moment when Duke is basically handed the reins of the entire Terran Dominion's military. As he pointed out, a position in his cabinet. The other person who was basically vying for that top slot was Warfield, who was mentioned in Starcraft 2. Yes, it does, Django, at least by the letter of the law. I like how nobody's listening to me again. That's fine. You guys do your own discussion. I just think the relationship between Mengsk and Duke is fascinating, because neither of them trust each other until one of them betrays the other. And Duke could have taken that betrayal. He could have betrayed him back. He could have turncoated. He didn't. Duke remained loyal to Mengsk, and I already talked about why I feel that is. And as a result, Duke was rewarded with, the highest post that was available. Congratulations! You are now Grand Admiral Edmund Duke. You are now the man in charge of the entire military of the Dominion. You have power and prestige, and I'm taking care of you forever. And Duke's response was, hell yeah! Right up until Kerrigan shows up, but we'll get to that later. I understand, Roy.
Captain, the Dominion
Hey,
shipyards
notice
have been
Duran is here at the
destroyed, and
briefing
it seems that
again.
General Duke has withdrawn his forces from this quadrant. We have impressed most of the remaining Dilerian defense forces into the fleet, and stand ready to move to the next phase of our invasion.
We've just received word from our research team that they've uncovered some kind of hidden weapons relay upon the planet Tarsonis. They report that it's called a psi disruptor and that its purpose is somehow connected with the Zerg.
Admiral, during the Zerg invasion of these colonies, the Confederacy had manufactured a number of portable machines called psi emitters, which had the uncanny ability to lure Zerg to their signals. It was rumored that they had created a specialized emitter that could disrupt the Zerg's communications, but Emperor Mengsk was never able to find it. It appears that this psi disruptor is the machine he was looking for. I must humbly suggest to you, Admiral, that the disruptor be destroyed as quickly as possible. If it should fall into the hands of the Dominion, we could face some very serious problems.
A prudent call.
There's the idiot ball.
I am inclined to agree.
But Admiral, this device could ensure our victory over the Zerg. It is foolhardy to discard such an advantage.
Surely, Vice Admiral, you don't doubt the tenacity of your own fleet. Your Directorate forces will devastate the Zerg without the need for such a device.
Listen here, Lieutenant. I've had just about enough of your...
This conversation is over, Alexei. Given the true nature of our mission to enslave the Overmind, we could hardly stand to have Mengsk control a device of this magnitude. The psi disruptor must be destroyed in order to safeguard our mission. Ensign, set your course for Tarsonis.
So, Couple points here before I lose my track of my thoughts. First of all, Duran is not only manipulating his way in, no doubt through actual, mental and telepathic manipulations, because, Duran has that kind of ability, but because he is demonstrating competency. And so, in the first briefing, he was allowed into a high-level briefing, probably because he'd basically snuck his way in or manipulated his way in. This one, he has proven that his information is useful, twice now, actually. So he is basically allowed as a local advisor to be in on a meeting amongst the Admiralty and the Captaincy. The other interesting thing about that is the fact that he then gives advice to the Admiral, which is, let's be honest with ourselves, stupid! We have found a device that can disrupt the Zerg. I recommend we destroy it as quickly as possible. He doesn't even give a good argument for it. And then Dougal is like, well, I agree, because I've just picked up the idiot ball, and will actually never put it down again for the entire rest of the campaign. And Stukov's like, but Admiral, the idiot ball shouldn't be in your hands. It should be in the Protos's. And Dougal's like, enough! But seriously, Stukov is, of course, thinking and paying attention. The thing I love about this, though, is Dougal then just kind of casually mentions in front of someone who knows nothing about it, are given our plans to enslave the Overmind. He just says that right in front of Duran. I mentioned that because, wait, why is Raskor's the man? We got this. We must not, Captain. I can't do accents. You guys know this. We must not allow this to go in this direction. There's that better. I mention it because it's not like we don't know about the plans to enslave the Zerg. And in all honesty, Duran knows about the plans to enslave the Zerg already. But they don't know he knows that. They aren't aware of how much he is aware of, right? The fact that Dougal so casually mentions that that their secret plan here in front of a complete stranger just indicates how badly Dougal has basically, for lack of a better term, literally or metaphysically fallen under the spell of Duran and is now considering him a trusted advisor. Keeping in mind, the very first thing that Dougal said about Duran was, I cannot abide the traitor. Remember that? Look how quickly he's turned around in that mentality. I also want to bring up one thing. Some people have asked me, why is it that Duran... here, I'll talk about that in the mission.
Go ahead, HQ.
Lieutenant Duran, since you have shown such concern for this device's inherent danger, I charge you with finding the disruptor and securing it. We will commence with its destruction once we've cleared the area.
Really, Dougal? Idiot ball! Idiot ball! Dougal has the idiot ball. Seriously. Really, Dougal? The fact that Dougal personally puts someone else in charge is again something I've mentioned before as indicative of his leadership style. People who are more competent than me, go get things done. I'll talk more about that in just a moment. Remind me to talk about that, in case I forget it.
Our sensors are tracking Zerg signals in every direction. It appears that our intelligence was correct.
Admiral, if we focus on destroying all of the hives in this area, we may be able to neutralize these Zerg without too much trouble.
Really? Because that's not actually how the Zerg work, Duran. Dougal is basically the leader of the UED Expeditionary Fleet, and arguably the leader of the UED military in general. Yeah, BlizzCon's still offline by my luck here. Let's go to this.
SCV good to go, sir.
Yeah, another hour, I think. I'm not sure. Anyways, whatever. Words. Damn it! Now I've lost our train of thought. Why did I check BlizzCon? Neither, Night Forger. Welcome back, Raynor.
Your forces are under attack.
Oh, Duran is under Amon's control. That's the best way to put that.
Give me some of this shield. Go, go, go.
State the nature of your medical
Go.
emergency.
Base is under attack.
I don't know, dude. Yeah, Duran is in league with Duran. That's a fairly accurate statement. Yes, my train of thought has been completely derailed. Thank you, Night Forager. Okay. So, first of all, it's incredibly suspicious that Duran's like, no, we could totally work around these Zerg here in this way that the Zerg don't actually work, right? We've got this, you know, Admiral. I'm just going to put the cheat in now.
SCV good to go, sir.
And then, De Gaulle's leadership skill, right. I talked about how De Gaulle is not exactly a skilled tactician. And I stand by that statement, by the way. I do not think he is a skilled tactician.
SCV good to go, sir.
And yet, having reevaluated, and especially as we've been going through this, I think I'm going to add an addendum to that. Hey, Dios. I think we're going to add that he is actually a decent manager.
Outstanding.
Let me explain what I mean by that. A manager, in my opinion, the best kind of manager is someone who knows that he doesn't know anything. You know, a good manager of IT. I actually had one good manager back when I worked in IT, back when I was at Net Standard. And that manager's best asset was the fact that he knew that he didn't know everything about the way that everything worked in the NOC and in the data center. So he would basically say to his people, okay, look, this is what we need to happen, and I need you to tell me how best to make that happen. And then he would sit back and let us come up with the actual solution. I feel like this is the kind of leader De Gaulle is, the kind of person who knows he doesn't have that much tactical acumen, but he knows enough to think, well, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and let the people who are good at their jobs do their jobs, and then it'll work out in the end, right? So, I mean, whether that's damning with faint praise or not is going to be up to you, but I do think that is a valid case to be made for De Gaulle's style of leadership. Yep. Now, Duran. Some people have asked why it is that Duran is basically working for the Queen of Blades here. This is actually a funny thing because it really boils down to the fact that Duran needed all three races. He needed to have everything on his side, and he needed to try and go ahead and basically have all the pieces in place, and he's patient. Duran has tons of time, remember. So he's not in any rush to accomplish his goals. Not really. Suddenly noise!
Just as I thought. This brood can't operate without its primary hive cluster.
What a coincidence. Anyways, so yeah, so Duran needed to infiltrate the Queen of Blades, who is the current best unit, for lack of a better word for that, of the Zerg, in order to accomplish that that infiltration. And he needed to infiltrate the Protoss, which he does through her, and he needed to infiltrate the Terrans in order to have the materials, supplies, resources, etc., in order to actually do the physical act of creating the hybrids, right? Remember, Duran has two plans. One is creating the hybrids, the other is resurrecting Amon, and resurrecting Amon also requires the Queen of Blades. You can't do that without her. You need that massive influx of energy in order to accomplish that act. Right? You with me? So, there we go. I just mentioned this because some people have questioned why Duran is even bothering trying to further the Queen of Blades, see around writing, the Queen of Blades ends while at the same time trying to further the UED's ends, since both of them are in such conflict with each other. And honestly, it is actually a basic case of playing different people against other different people. It's literally, he's weaving the line between these two forces, and sometimes he actually does help the UED out, so he can ingratiate themselves into them, and sometimes he helps her out so he can ingratiate himself into her, and so forth and so on. Remember, he doesn't actually give a damn about the UED. He doesn't give a damn about the Swarm. They are only tools to be utilized as needed and then discarded. Ergo, one of the reasons why he is so eager to basically wipe out the Swarm the moment they stop being useful, as I mentioned before. There we go. Is this, Yes, okay, that's what I thought. Up here. Hey, Groot. What's up? 1 hour till BlizzCon. Well, I don't have... You require more of it. I must construct additional pylons, guys. Damn it. Now, one of the other things I really love about the way they portray Duran is he is the perfect kind of infiltrator in the fact that he has no pride. Let me explain what I mean by this. I've often said that the limits of what you can accomplish are only determined by what you are willing to endure. And someone who does not have any care for themselves or whatever they have to go through can accomplish things that are kind of insane. Things that other normal people, for lack of a better way to put it, would never actually consider accepting or tolerating or allowing or anything like that. I mean, put it to you this way. Anyone out there seen, oh shoot, Shawshank Redemption? Anyone out there see Shawshank Redemption? I'll wait a moment for you to actually answer on this one. What did you... No. No. Now, okay, the reason I bring up Shawshank Redemption is the only thing that prevented him from that escape was his willingness to put up with the nightmarish horrors. So in other words, I mean, he went through some hell. I mean, let's just be honest with you. He went through some hell getting out of there. But he was willing to do it. He was willing to man up, swallow his pride, and just literally wallow through crap in order to get out, in order to escape. In addition to the various other things that were involved in that horrible, terrifyingly depressing movie. And that's kind of what I'm talking about in a nutshell. The people who tend to accomplish things are the ones who are willing to accept the loss and the pain in order to push themselves to the furthest extent. It's actually one of the reasons why I've always felt that the Joker in the Dark Knight Returns or the Dark Knight Rises or whichever, the recent Batman, was able to accomplish so much. It wasn't that he was necessarily smarter, although he was very smart. It wasn't necessarily that he had more resources or he had more power. He had no super abilities, remember. He was not a superhero. He had nothing else going for him other than the fact that he was willing to do what other people were not. That was his strength. That was what separated him from everyone else. The one thing that the Joker had over everyone else was the willingness to do anything. My favorite example of this is one Sci-Fi Debris has pointed out as well. He hangs a man from in broad daylight from the actual government hall of the city hall. That means he had to be willing to drag a corpse in there and the rope and calculate the hanging him so he would run into run into the window where the mayor was, just basically to send a message. That's insane, if you really think about it, and has dozens and dozens of possibilities of getting caught. But he didn't care. As I've liked to explain it many times, the Joker was playing Grand Theft Auto. Now, you may think I'm joking when I say that, but I'm not. When you're playing Grand Theft Auto, do you care about the consequences of what happens to your character, the main character? Of course you don't. That's not a real person. What are the consequences if you die in Grand Theft Auto? You go to the hospital and you get out and you're fine. What are the consequences of getting caught by the police? Nothing. There are no consequences, basically, of being a protagonist in Grand Theft Auto. So you are willing to do things that normal, sane people are not. Because you don't care. Because you're willing to do whatever. And that is the Joker in a nutshell. In its own horrifying way. I need to get some air power going. But all of this boils back down to Duran. What does he care about all of this? What does he care about consequences? What does he care about the UED? What does he care about Kerrigan? None of them mean anything to him. He does not care. He is willing to do anything in order to accomplish his goals. Groveling, lying, manipulating, cheating, being hurt, being killed. He willingly accepts his own death because he still accomplishes his goals in the consequence there, or in the course of doing so. This is a man who has no real pride. And that's really the distinction there, I think. That willingness to do whatever is necessary is what really distinguishes Duran and makes him such a dangerous, deadly foe. That's in addition to the massive psychic power and the tremendous knowledge and the immortal life, and of course, the fact that he's a frickin' shapeshifter on top of everything else. Fun fact, some people have also asked me if Duran was ever actually infested. Two possible answers here. Possible answer one? No, God, no. He was pretending the entire time. He was literally like, oh yes, I'm totally infested. And again, remember, shapeshifter. So he has the ability to quite literally pretend to be an infested by literally morphing himself into an infested Terran and then be like, yes, my queen. Notice how much he licks her boots, by the way. Which we'll be pointing out when we go through her campaign. He just constantly is doing it, and she never even for a moment suspects him. Even when he abandons her, she doesn't say, he has abandoned me, how dare she. She just says, I'm confused that he's not here. It never even enters the Queen of Blades' mind that he might have betrayed her. Why would it, after all? Oh, by the way, we officially have it confirmed. We're going to be having... I suddenly can't think of her name. One of the Overwatch people in Heroes of the Storm. What is her name? The Warp Chick. Oh my gosh. What's her name? Tracer. That's her name. Tracer. God. Just thought I'd share for anybody out there who cares about Overwatch or has some hype for Overwatch. So, good luck, Banath. May the Force be with you. Quick, everyone else say Tracer. Oh, I know, Samurai. That's another interesting thing about the Queen of Blades. She is literally constantly betraying people. Just non-stop. At no point in time does it even occur to her to keep her word. Which I find hilarious. And also very indicative of the mindset of the Queen of Blades. Specifically the Queen of Blades, again. Because that's very much like Amon, isn't it? We discover later that Amon has literally no loyalty to anyone or anything other than himself and death. Thank you, everyone, for saying Tracer. So, yes, literally death. I'll talk more about that later. But I just think it's another reason why I connect the Queen of Blades and Amon so distinctly, because the two of them really have the same mentalities, have the same mindsets, etc., etc. Kerrigan... I'm actually using the word correctly this time. Kerrigan insists that she was never directly controlled by Amon, but A, how would she know? And B, the Queen of Blades acts so much like Amon that I wouldn't be surprised if it literally was Amon. Like his essence or his power or whatever pushed into her. Because, yeah. That being said, I don't think that's actually the truth. I don't think the Queen of Blades is Amon in the Zerg body. I think the Queen of Blades is... There we go. Assistant Lilu. I think the Queen of Blades is just that type of energy, that type of mindset. Like, okay, you remember how Duran thinks exactly like Amon does? I feel like what we have here is a situation where Amon can create a being, or influence a being, to think like him. Corruption, basically, to put it into its most fundamental form. And I think that that is actually what's going on with the Queen of Blades. She was, she was given the form by Abathur, and then Duran or Amon or both corrupted her to think like they do. That's just my take on that. I do know for sure. Yeah, indoctrination is actually a fairly decent word for what Amon has done to people in the past.
Captain, we've located the psi disruptor. Shall we plant the explosives on it?
Lieutenant Duran, we're here to relieve you. We've come with orders from Admiral Stukov himself to facilitate the disruptor's disassembly.
Very well. Take it away. Captain, I'll be returning to the command ship presently.
Do note that Duran undoubtedly knows what Stukov's doing here, and totally allows it. Which, again, is keeping with his playing both sides against each other mentality. Also, how many of you as players out there when you were first playing Brood War were like, oh, Stukov's totally not taking out the Disruptor? I mean, really. They came here with explosives. Why do you need to send in people to facilitate disassembly? I mean, what? No. I will be right back, guys. Sorry, I need a drink really badly. It's a good mission. Did I not mute myself? Whoops.
Captain, once again, your leadership has set a fine example to the rest of my officers. Vice Admiral Stukov has informed me that the psi disruptor has been accounted for, so we can now proceed with the next phase of our operation. The time has come to begin our primary invasion of the Dominion throne world of Korhal. Alexei, fill the captain in on the current situation.
As you may know from your research, Captain, Korhal was a hotbed of anti-Confederate sentiment for years. The Confederacy hoped to contain Korhal's civil unrest by decimating it and its population with a massive nuclear barrage. Though the radiation levels on the planet are at an all-time low, its surface is now nothing more than a smoldering desert.
The catch, Admiral, is that because this world has already been devastated by nuclear fire, Mengsk has no compunction against using nukes on us. We have detected a large cluster of missile silos on the outskirts of Augustgrad. If those silos were destroyed, we believe that Mengsk would lose its core nuclear capabilities.
We also face a different obstacle, Captain. Intelligence has informed us that Mengsk employs multiple battle cruisers for his planetary defense. It is possible to nullify these battle cruisers by taking out strategic physics labs. Without these labs, Mengsk will be unable to power up his ship's weapon systems.
Though we know how to compensate for Mengsk's defenses, we don't have enough time to follow through on them both. Therefore, Captain, you must choose to either counter his nuclear capabilities or his battlecruisers. Once you've taken care of this operation, we can begin to plan our final assault against Augustgrad.
Just like pointing out that, once again, Duran somehow has access to information he really shouldn't. And de Gaulle is once again allowing other people to make decisions for him. And he didn't even come up with any of the strategies here. He wasn't like, we should take out their cruisers. Or, we should take out their nukes. No, that was the other two who came up with that. And then he leaves the decision in our hands. Now, this is another first in StarCraft history. This, remember, we've already had branching objectives. We had that back on the Protoss. We had the ability to go after the crystal or go after the Overmind. We have branching objectives here, but it's better in every way because this will actually change which mission we do next. If we take out the nukes, we'll have a different assault on Augustgrad. If we take out the battlecruisers, we'll have a different assault on Augustgrad. I think that's awesome, personally. And again, it's really, really cool that they actually did this. Wow, that vote is super tied. It's not actually tied, but that's close. Oh, excuse me. Now, it's worth noting that both of the upcoming missions are kind of a pain. Augustgrad is stupidly well defended. I mean, just stupidly well defended. And if they have battlecruisers, they will use them often and frequently to screw you over. Basically, which thing we take out, sure you. We are taking out their battlecruiser capabilities or their nuclear capabilities, one of the two. However, if they have the access to nukes, they will pretty much nuke you all over the place, just constantly. The first nuke, it's possible to deal with. Basically, there'll be an initial barrage of nukes, which there's some tricks you can do to mitigate. And from then on, you have to basically constantly be on the lookout for further ghosts, because they're just going to be flinging nukes at you left and right. And, yeah. So both of the upcoming missions kind of suck. I'm almost glad we're going to be doing a cheat run through this, for no other reason than the fact that these are long missions. Like, or this upcoming mission, both of them really are long. Augustgrad is a long, just grueling siege into Augustgrad with limited resources, with tons of enemy defenses, and it's also a gimmick mission on top of it. So the enemy has access to tons of forces, and they're cheats. Basically, they're basically scripted to use nukes. It's not just that they have access to them. They will basically get nukes periodically and get battlecruisers periodically, rather than actually having to earn them in actual gameplay. So yeah, big base versus base mission with limited resources, and the enemy starts off with tons of entrenched defenses, and they get cheats. This is a really hard mission to push through. Now, it is possible to mitigate some of the damage of that. You have to go pretty heavily into ghosts if you're going to go anti-battlecruiser or anti-air defense, one of the two. And if you're going to go against the nukes, you have to have a huge quick response team, which usually means wraiths, and a detection grid to make sure you don't catch. Make sure you catch any ghosts. And yeah, I know, Dakota, it's hilarious. They're like, oh, your ghost is right there. Let me just wander a detector over to him, and hey, I see him. Die. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I'm incredibly stupid. The assault on Char is another wonderfully difficult mission. Brood War is a hard game, in all honesty. There's no difficulty options in this game. It's just, it starts off kind of hard, and then it just ramps up from there. What's funny is, if you pay attention, the Protoss missions had a much easier difficulty curve. It's like this. But the funny thing is, the UED missions start here. They don't start back here. They don't reset the difficulty back to 0. They start the difficulty at where the Protoss missions ended. And then they keep kind of... Hang on. I don't hear any music. And we should have another 40 minutes anyways, so... Anyways, What was I saying?
Upgrade complete.
Alright, so the difficulty curve for Brood War is, instead of being like, in the original Starcraft, it was like this, and then this, and then this. In Brood War, it's like this, this, this. The Protoss missions are kind of easy, leading towards relatively difficult. The UED missions start relatively difficult, and then go to much harder. And the UED, and then the UED missions end pretty damn hard, and then go to the Zerg missions, which are brutally difficult. The whole of Brood War is an increasing line of difficulty, and it's,
Reporting for duty.
if I'm honest, it's some interesting fun trying to push through without cheats. Usually takes me forever. Each map usually is like a 3-hour map, which, by the way, is why we're cheating. Or willing to cheat, I should say. What do you mean, Takoida?
Yes, sir.
I actually mentioned that earlier, Groat, extensively, in fact, because it is, in my opinion, Mengsk's biggest flaw, his tunnel vision problem. Especially since he really did not have any reason to go after Kerrigan at that point in time. She was, just like Duke was, loyal. The difference is he sold out Duke, and Duke survived, and Duke stayed loyal, for some reason. Again, I've already given my theories on that. When he sold out Kerrigan, she didn't survive in the strictest sense of the word. And, well, yeah, we see how that one turned out. You know, considering the Academy includes research such as stim packs, yeah, I could buy that.
Standing by.
What's the vote like? We only have like 10 people posting for the vote right now. Come on, guys. Surely there's more than 10 people who care about the outcome of this mission. Vote! Vote 1 for us to take out the battlecruisers.
Reporting in.
Vote... What the hell? Vote 2 for us to take out the nukes. Just start the tree. Oh my god! Really, guys? Really?
Attack formation.
You guys are hilarious. You're continuing to be hilarious. At every moment, hilarity ensues.
Give me something to shoot. You want a piece of me, boy? Standing by.
1 is battlecruisers.
Checked up and good
Vote
to
1
go.
if you want to take out
Give me
battlecruisers.
something to shoot. Let's move.
Job's finished.
I'll allow that, Andre.
Piece of me, boy.
I mean, we do kind of want to push through Brood War, and like I said, these missions are long if you do them, you know, legitimately. Long. I can count 7th. I know how to count. Actually, yeah, I've always believed that's the MP, Takoida. I don't know if that's true or not, because we know at least one of the squadrons is here. And of course, the main defenses of Augustgrad
Base is
over there
under attack.
are present as well.
You want a piece of me, boy? Yes, sir.
We are white because they can't overlap, Takoida. Because the UED's color is white, even though it was actually originally brown. I think that's just an inconsistency. But the UED, like I said, the UED's primary color is white, hence all the UED stuff. Even in lore, the UED's colors are white. If you ever see like anything in artwork or whatnot, UED troops are wearing the white colors. Correct, Rory. If we do not take out battlecruisers, they hit us with battlecruisers. If we don't take out nukes, they hit us with nukes. By the way, did you see my post, Rory? Just out of curiosity. Because I finally sat down last night, knuckled in, and just got some really good music playing, and tried to get in the zone, and did like 70 dice rolls to do the entirety of the battle through. Got it done. And yeah, I'll be doing actions soon, as soon as everyone verifies what they're doing immediately in the wake of the battle.
Upgrade complete.
There we go.
Reporting for duty.
4's good enough.
Job's finished. Reporting for duty.
And then let's get this going. The Terran tech tree is kind of weird. You have to get certain buildings, if for no other reason than to increase your upgrade for lower buildings. So, for example, if you want to fully upgrade your troops, you have to get a science vessel, even though you may never, or science facility, even though you may never actually use a science facility, which is kind of weird.
Orders, sir.
So I need. Here we go, Bragwin. Wait, where's my dice? Where's my dice? I'm gonna roll for Bragwin's actions right here. Bragwin's action number 1 will be the white one. That's a 4, and the green one is a 13. I find it unnerving personally. How's our poll? What do we got? Poll results.
Job's finished.
Okay, looks like you guys at least are slanting towards nukes. I'm gonna go ahead and cut that off. Let's do the fun vote first. Do you find the sound that comes out of the Academy unnerving or humorous? And I'll go ahead and vote on this one as well, because I find it unnerving, personally. I think of people screaming, and I do not like that thought. I don't know, Third Leg. I mean, I can never make that judgment call for someone else. It's up to you. Is it worth it to you?
Identify target. Orders, sir. Delighted to, sir.
Both. Oh, I'm referring to
Additional
this
supply
sound.
depots required.
Yeah, let me make sure you can hear it.
Job's finished.
That one.
You want a piece of me, boy?
Base is under attack.
That's a good question, Ultimate Paradox. We do know some horrible things are happening in there. People being engrafted with implants, people being drugged up to doses.
Upgrade complete.
If you listen, you can hear them going. I don't want to actually yell, because then I'll break everyone's ears in the
Your
chat.
forces are under attack.
Ah, awesome, Third Leg. / envy. I wish I still had my Starcraft 1.
Your forces are under attack.
I know exactly which move I lost it into.
Standing by.
Job's finished.
Thankfully, I found a PDF of it very recently. In fact, in preparation for this board, I'm really happy to find it. So at least I can still read it, even if I don't have my, my actual pamphlet anymore. That's a matter of debate, MCA 64. It also depends on how you're quantifying it. For example, what do you consider to be superior, storytelling or gameplay? Now, I can only give you my opinion on that because, duh, I suppose. I actually still have mine too, Third Leg. I still have my Brood on my manual. It's actually in the same case as the CD, which I still have. Believes it or not. I still have my Final Fantasy IV manual from the SNES. And Final Fantasy Legends 2. Yeah, Carbot did that to Goida. He made the Academy into a haunted house of horrors, which makes perfect sense. Actually, Samurai, I do. But I only have a couple of my original boxes. I actually got rid of most of them. Which is funny, because since then I have now had a more recent desire to have boxes again. Before I check that, thank you, Grote.
Job's finished.
Let's see.
You want a piece of me, boy?
Wow. Okay, thank you very much, Grote. I appreciate it a great deal, especially right now of all times. So we're up to 60.
You want a piece of me, boy?
On hard difficulty now, which is another reason we should cheat. Which, by the way, let's go ahead and cut off that silly poll. Is it? I still don't see it as being live. I'm on the virtual ticket page right now. I've actually found it, and yeah, I don't see anything here. So yeah, that's 50 for hard. Of course you can, AKA. Quit poking me!
Give me something to shoot.
Alright, so I believe nukes are the southern option. I'm not actually sure. Please don't read into what I just said.
Jacked up and good to go. Commander.
So, we have another poll, and this one's a little more serious.
Your forces are under attack.
Basically, it boils down to, should we go ahead and just cheat our balls off throughout all of Brood War? Because I'm pretty sure I will never have a moment where I will be able to finish a mission before I run out of things to talk about. And if I do, I can just pause the mission for a moment and finish talking. And the idea is to get to StarCraft 2 as quickly as possible, because I have a lot of stuff to cover in StarCraft 2. Including the Easter eggs and the in-between stuff and the huge amounts of lore and whoa, God! And Braegwyn, I have to cover Braegwyn. So let's open this here. Full cheats or current system. So there's our options.
Your
right
forces
there.
are under attack. Base is under attack.
Give me something to shoot.
Upgrade complete.
Commander. Go, go, go.
Don't worry, she doesn't mind.
Your forces are under attack. Base is under attack.
Want me to do the next mission without cheats? Oh my god. Do you know how rough the next mission is? Of course you do. You played this game. You know exactly how rough the next mission is.
Reporting in.
Your forces are under attack.
Yes, sir?
Commander. Give me something to shoot.
Your forces are under attack.
Yeah, seriously, Lulu.
Give me something.
Clearly I should have a light side, dark side thing going, right?
Your forces are under attack.
Well, they're supposed to be shooting massive, oh my god, Braegwyn. They're supposed to be shooting basically Gauss rifles, which are big old guns. Yeah, obviously they aren't, so, yeah.
Your forces are under attack.
I still don't see any BlizzCon streams, I'm just gonna leave that up.
Go, go, go.
Still says 28 minutes or whatever for me.
Jacked up and good to go. Commander.
Your forces are under attack.
I will say this. This upcoming mission is, in my opinion, one of the hardest missions in the entire game. I'd say, actually, at least tied for the hardest missions, or possibly second hardest mission in the game. The only one that really strikes me as equivalent for the next mission in terms of raw difficulty is the freaking the final mission, the very last mission, where you are the Zerg against literally everyone else. And I feel like...
Your forces are under attack.
I am. Wait, no?
Let's move.
forces are under attack.
Not that I'm aware of, Knife Forward. Oh, this is... Oh, there they are. Yeah, I'm stupid. There's the nukes. We found their nuclear stockpile. Let's just shoot at it for a while, guys. I think that's a good move. Do you guys agree? I'll reload my screen.
Base is under attack.
Care about these moves.
Your forces are under attack.
Oh, crap. They're talking. Ah, mute. Mute! Ah. There we go. Okay. Okay, I guess the stream is live. It's just some people talking.
Base is under attack.
Stim packs without side effects. You know, that is a valid point, bro. If we go full cheat, I'll go into this. Who is this woman? And why is her face so ugly? Sorry.
Base is under attack.
Well done, Captain. We won't need to worry about nukes when we siege Mengsk Palace.
Yeah, neural resocialization is one of those really kind of horrifying things to begin with. Looks like they're just showing ads for the moment, so shrug. There we go. So, let's see here. Poll close. Yeah, Samurai, exactly. Wow, you guys really want me to cheat. Okay. Now, final question. Should I cheat on this mission? Specifically this mission.
Captain, Admiral de Gaulle has ordered a final tactical meeting before the siege of Augustgrad commences. I'll patch you through to his war room.
Ah, Captain, we've been expecting you. As you may have guessed, we are coordinating our final attack plans. You should know that even though Mengsk cannot reinforce his numbers, his standing forces are substantial. Mengsk is an accomplished tactician, so you had best be wary of any counterattacks he may attempt.
Captain, remember that although we disabled Mengsk's nuclear capabilities, he still commands a large number of battle cruisers. We suspect that he will use these ships against us at every turn. Be on your guard, Captain. Show this Emperor what the UED thinks of his rule.
This is funny. So I'm trying... the stream is lagging for me. The BlizzCon stream is lagging for me, guys. Pause. Okay, so... what's the vote at? I'll just go ahead and close it up now. Actually, no. You guys got 8 minutes? Like 40 seconds? Then we'll close the vote up. Hang on. Let me get some music going at least. So I just had an idea. I could actually pull out... Right now I'm watching the BlizzCon stream on mute. But I could actually pull out the laptop and hook up headphones to that and wear those, so you guys couldn't hear it. So I'm not restreaming it. I'm still legal and legit. And then, you know, keep doing the stream of my own stuff. I should probably have my notepad ready to take notes on the BlizzCon stream, because I'm going to be talking about it like in a separate stream just for that. So, what's all this? Bragwin's nation is going to explode? Whatever. Javan's nation is plummeting to the earth. Excellent. Seriously, I'll have this ready for note-taking. That's going to take some setup to do, if I want to actually do that. I might do that. I haven't decided yet. It doesn't even start yet. So what's the vote? What's the vote? You guys want me to... Wait, does that mean do it legit or do it cheat? How did I phrase that question? Is that yes to cheating or yes to trying it? I don't remember how I phrased the question. Legitimately, help me out, guys. How did I phrase the question? That means cheat. Okay. All right, let's do it. Power overwhelming.
Battle cruiser operational.
Yeah, by the way, they come after you immediately.
Set a course.
Yes, sir.
I mean, like, just it's the first thing they do.
Up, weapons online. Engage.
Base is under attack.
Job's finished.
And as you can see, the first thing they do is hit you with freaking 9 battle
Base is
cruisers.
under attack.
Which pretty much means your outer defenses are gone. There are ways to survive that, but yeah, what do we got? 18 minutes until the countdown.
Base is under attack.
Job's finished.
Base is under attack.
Job's finished.
Upgrade complete. Base is under attack. Add-on complete.
Orders, Captain? Right away, sir.
Base is under attack.
Why does... Look, Mike Morhaime, you're a very boring guy, and I'm sure you do a decent job of your job, but nobody cares. Nobody in the world cares.
Battle cruiser operational.
I have no idea, Third Leg.
Battle cruiser operational.
That would be much harder, I'm
Battle
sure.
cruiser operational.
Oh, Goliath's...
Battle cruiser
No.
operational.
This is definitely a you have to have 2 armies mission
Battle
doing this legit.
cruiser
The first wow, 10 years, that's actually
Battle
impressive.
cruiser
You need the first army to be advancing into their forces, and you need the second army to be
Battle cruiser
contesting
operational.
their battle cruisers. And that second army, I usually use
Battle
nothing but
cruiser
either
operational.
but wraiths, basically. Goliath simply get taken
Battle
down too
cruiser
quickly
operational.
and are very easy for them to counterattack. You can also
Battle
bait them with
cruiser
wraiths. If you send
operational.
in one wraith, it's like, whoosh, and then cloaked, right?
Battle
And then
cruiser
attack him. He'll
operational.
immediately scan on that, and then you can send in your other wraiths cloaked, and it'll be
Battle
the
cruiser
scan will last longer,
operational.
basically.
Make
Go.
it slow.
What's the objective here? Destroy that
Of
command
course.
center. Go.
Reporting for duty.
Who is this person that's talking right now?
Your forces are under attack.
She's, I mean, her face is hideous, but I don't know who she is, which is my real complaint.
Good day.
Add-on complete.
Job's finished.
Oh, that's right. Parents, ghosts. Yay. Lockdown. This is going to be wonderful.
Add-on complete.
Yeah, I know,
Your
Dakota.
forces are under attack.
Hailing frequencies open.
I don't remember which
Your
mission.
forces are under attack.
snapshot?
Cruiser operational.
Guess I could. I would hope that they kill me quickly.
Cruiser operational.
Because holy crap.
Battle cruiser operational.
They do have some similarities in design. It's your standard hammerhead style of ship, and there are advantages to that type of ship. It basically presents a lower profile for head-on attacks. That's the main advantage
Good day,
of that style of ship.
Engage.
Your forces are under attack.
So that's all I have to say about that. Sorry.
Your forces are under attack.
Fine, hang on. Let me take a screen. Just because you guys insist, let me wait until she's up on... Now we're seeing the guy with the bad haircut. And the bad
Forces are
beard.
under attack.
And now we're seeing a schedule, which is just riveting.
Your forces are under attack.
And there's just people, and there's all three of them again. Whoops.
Your forces are under attack.
That's true, and like I said, it's a fairly common style of thing. You notice I'm not really saying anything on this one. I don't actually have anything to share lore like here's what she looks like. There you go. It's one of the reasons I was okay with cheating on this. I really just don't have much to share lore-wise. This is a fascinating mission, but this is definitely the mission of Duran. It's like, okay. The enemy outnumbers you in every way, shape, and form, guns you in every way, shape, and form, and just kind of make it happen. You know, that's the mission in a nutshell.
Your forces are under attack.
That's a good question, Shadow. I have no idea who that person is, which is kind of my point.
Your forces are under attack.
Course.
Look at this, 4 battle cruisers left unaffected.
Receiving trend.
In all honesty, I try not to use battle cruisers on this mission because, yeah. So that being said, I do have something lore-wise to talk about this mission. We're gonna go pause for just a second to talk about this. I like the Erico one. That's pretty good. So let's talk about a little bit of lore here, really quick. I mentioned earlier how they took a different storytelling style with this particular game than they did with the previous ones, and they would do this in the future too. Basically, you will see snippets of people's stories rather than their entire stories, and you will get the implication of the fact that their story is continuing with or without them. What we are about to see is a moment that made me go, "What?" when I first saw it. I suppose I'll just let the scene play out, and then we'll, and you'll see what I mean with it.
Your forces are under attack. Your forces are under attack. Captain, I'm tracking the Dominion flagship NORAD 3 in low orbit. Emperor Mengsk may be attempting an escape. Receiving incoming transmission. Reinforcements already
This is
in
Emperor
transit.
Mengsk
Just
of the
sit
Terran
tight.
Dominion. I wish to parley with your executive officer at once.
I've had that problem. Okay, so this is a bug that we shouldn't be having happen.
So,
Okay.
the elusive Arcturus Mengsk at last. I was hoping to speak with you before we finished our business here. I am Admiral Gerard Dugot, and I must commend you, sir, for holding back our advance for as long as you have. You are indeed a worthy opponent.
My thanks to you, sir. But you must know that your victory here means little to me.
It might have taken me a while, but I did overthrow the Confederacy. I'll overthrow your rule as well.
That seems unlikely, sir. Seeing as how you'll be publicly executed along with the rest of your ranking officers.
You wouldn't dare.
The man who crowns himself emperor speaks to me of daring. You have far outlived your reputation, citizen Mengsk. Captain, prepare to take the emperor into custody.
I'm going to pause for a moment to talk here. It is interesting to me because it takes that kind of... I'm trying to think how to put this. It takes the kind of fascist, more or less evil perspective that the UED has to go ahead and take, someone who they have conquered and publicly execute them. And that's the kind of thing that is really how you shut down heroes, right? In other words, if you... how do I put this? So many times heroes in stories rely on the enemy not being willing to go to the fullest extent of villainy or evil in order to salvage the situation, in order to survive and move on and be able to turn things around. And as I mentioned before, Mengsk basically in every way qualifies as, the player characters type person, just like Raynor does. A hero, it's just he happens to be a villain instead of a hero. He just, I already talked about that. So de Gaulle, if this was Raynor instead of Mengsk, his reaction would be the same thing. Oh, we're going to publicly execute you. The other thing I like is that de Gaulle acts as if a public execution for a conquered force is normal. Now, on the one hand, you might be like, well, of course it is. That's just logical. But think about this for a moment. Let me put you in real life terms. This is totally fictional, of course. But let's say the United States conquered Canada right now. Kong, Kong, Kong. Ha! We have conquered Canada. Now, how do you think the international reaction would be if we have actually finished? We've won. Canada is ours. You've surrendered. And in response to your surrender, we drag all the leaders of Canada, including all of the military leaders of Canada, out in public and shoot them right in the head on international TV. How do you think people would react to that? That's frickin' terrifying. That is brutal. And again, it is that brutality done on purpose. That is very much the UED, again, in a nutshell. They think nothing about that kind of action. And it's so normal to them. It's one of the reasons why Mengsk was assuming it wouldn't happen, because it's just not the norm to accomplish that kind of a thing. See you around, Night Forager. Yeah, exactly, Krunzer. There would be such a stink about that. But anyways, I do also find it amusing that de Gaulle basically just takes credit for all of the actions here. Again, he may be a manager, like I said, in the interest of fairness. But I also like what's about to happen. This is awesome.
You'll have to postpone those plans, gentlemen.
Sir, the rebel command ship Hyperion has just entered our system.
With
It is
Protoss
accompanied by a small Protoss fleet.
What? Who are these intruders?
Jim Raynor. What the hell are you doing here?
I'm pulling your ass out of the fire Arcturus, so shut up and sit tight. Let's take it out. That is some serious stuff. Right now, mutual laws wants you alive. Prepare your ships for dimensional recall.
This is intolerable. They're escaping right out from under us. Track them. Track them.
Sorry, I forgot I had power overwhelming on,
Identify yourself.
which is why that cutscene played wrong there, because they kept shooting at invincible units. In case you missed what was being said there, because Lord knows I missed it, Raynor's like, oh, don't worry, we have a serious storage schedule, but right now a mutual acquaintance of ours wants to talk to you, so sit back and prepare for dimensional recall. Immediately, we're like, this is great attention-grabbing writing. It's like, oh god, Raynor's alive. Yes, Raynor's alive, and he's with the Protoss. That's even better. And he's rescuing Mengsk. Why is he rescuing Mengsk? And who's the mutual acquaintance? Oh my god! And at this point in time, there's actually several possibilities of who that mutual acquaintance could be. So while Kerrigan is possibility on that list, she's not a guarantee. So it's like, oh gosh, what's happening and why? And love it. That's a great scene right there. Now,
Captain, we have tracked the fugitives Mengsk and Raynor to the devastated Protoss homeworld of Ire. Apparently, these two have taken shelter within a fortified Protoss encampment that lies at the base of a fully functional warp gate.
I don't understand this. Why would the Protoss harbor these men?
I have no idea, Gerard. But the Protoss aren't our only problem. Our sensors have identified multiple Zerg broods surrounding the Protoss base. Presently, the broods seem to be passive, but there's no telling what might set them off. Should the broods attack, we'd be hard-pressed to hold them at bay.
I see. It is a risk we'll need to take. Mengsk represents a considerable threat to our agenda and must be eliminated. Captain, you will focus your attack against the Rebel Command Center in the middle of the Protoss encampment. That must be where Mengsk and Raynor are hiding. We will deploy our own Valkyrie frigates and tighten up our air defenses. Vice Admiral Stukov and Lieutenant Duran will provide cover for your forces and ensure that no external threats interfere with your mission.
So, question. Do you think de Gaulle is making a mistake here or not? Here's part of why I ask. If de Gaulle is committing 3 separate armies and a huge bulk of his forces in a planet way the far away from his conquered territories to go after one guy, he is here just to get Mengsk. I'd say 50-ish hours, Cashel, give or take. Now, I'm not saying Mengsk is not a threat, because he is. Mengsk, you have to remember, and I'll talk about this in Starcraft 2, Mengsk loses everything multiple times, and each time he comes back stronger. Each time he comes back from losing everything, he comes back even stronger than he did before. So this is so Mengsk is certainly a threat, and this is a very calculated move on de Gaulle's part. Admittedly, it is. But I do agree, this is definitely a gamble. A huge gamble. Because you're risking huge amounts of forces and troops on the possibility of getting one man who might be a problem in the future, and risking losing your back holdings while also not continuing your main mission this entire time. Like I said, Raskor, Mengsk is a hero, except he's a villain. Now, obviously this is the mission in which we will be having Duran formally betray us, and a few things will be made more clear in ways that could have been done better, but, you know, whatever. So, cheating from the beginning. Oh my god! Oh yeah, this is when we get the Valkyries, too. So this is what Valkyries can do. That was a lot of Zerg. The opening ceremony hasn't actually started for me yet. I might be lagged behind, because I was having some issues before. Oh, never mind, it's starting. Wish I could hear this, but whatever. I didn't feel like getting my laptop out. I've got subtitles. I can hear what's going on. What are you doing, Samwise? Okay, this isn't anything specific. Got it. They're not opening strong. Valkyries. So Valkyries are an interesting unit to talk about. I'm getting more distracted by BlizzCon than I thought I would be. Valkyries are pure anti-air. They also don't work alone. The only way Valkyries actually are useful at all is if you have a mass of them. That being said, Valkyries are brutal anti-air. They're, in my opinion, the best anti-air that exists in this game. They will completely crush everything in their path in the air. If you have multiple of them, that really is the catch of them. You have to have a swarm of Valkyrie, otherwise they're just useless. I just go. Also, one of the fun things I want to point out is they cheat in these missions. You remember how... they're not actually announcing anything yet. You remember how they talk about... I mentioned how most of the victory conditions were kill all buildings or kill all units. And of course, that led to some really irritating frustrations and yada 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 yada. So in case you just missed it, sorry. What just happened is the Protoss defenses here under Phoenix have just activated the warp gate, which is of course how they're going to get the hell out of here. And, hang on, let's see what the other ones you have here. Groot. Cannot see the page. Groot. Anyways, so, you know, Phoenix's forces are here defending, Raynor's raiders are here defending, and both of them are, basically trying to ensure that they can get Mengsk the hell out of Dodge. Some people ask why it is they had to go through this whole roundabout, why they couldn't just go from, well, they couldn't just go from, the place whose name I can't think of, Augustgrad straight to wherever it is they meet up with Kerrigan. And the answer is basically, actually pretty simple when you think about it. It boils down to the fact that they couldn't. Remember, they didn't just warp out, they dimensional recalled out. They basically had an arbiter set up and was like, get us out of here, and went back to where their main base was. And of course, their main base is here on Ire, where they were still basically hunkered in. Remember, they've been holding up here against the Zerg swarm for God knows how long. Oh, there we go, it's working now. Ooh, I like that one on the left. Really nice, Groot. Congrats. So Raynor and Phoenix have just been hunkering in and enduring and surviving as best as they can against the onslaught of the swarm. They haven't really had a chance to move on past this yet. And so it makes sense that they would be going through all this effort to be able to do exactly that, which gives the UED the chance to catch up. And by the way, I have subtitles on the BlizzCon thing, and it's hilarious because the words that just popped up were perfect marine micro. Considering I've been attacked moving with my Marines this mission, I'm just amused. So there's Mike Morhaime. He'll probably not do any announcements. We'll see. Like I said, I'm hopeful we get some kind of announcements. This is a ripe moment for it. There are many things they could announce at this BlizzCon. Like 5 things. I've already listed them all. Here's hoping they announce at least one of them, shall we? God, these subtitles are terrible. It's closed captions, basically. I wish I could just restream this. I'd just pause the Starcraft Lorerun for a bit and just watch it with you, but I can't, so whatever. I am Rory, although I wish they hadn't delayed it. I was actually hoping to be at this year's BlizzCon, although this is not the first year I've been hoping to be at. If I'm honest. I don't have the rights to do so, Andre. I had to pay a ticket to watch it. I had to pay a ticket to purchase the virtual stream, so... yeah.
Viking
Good work,
forces are
Captain.
under
The
attack.
command center is destroyed, but it looks like Mengsk and Raynor will try to escape through the warp gate. Make ready to move in and intercept their vessel before... Wait, I've just picked up multiple Zerg signals coming in from the northeast. That's Duran's position, but he seems to have moved his forces out of place. Lieutenant Duran, this is Stukov. Come in. I'm tracking a massive Zerg swarm in your quadrant. Respond, damn it!
That is strange, Vice Admiral. My scanners don't show any Zerg at all. Maybe you have a technical problem with your equipment.
Lieutenant, if these Zerg get through, we'll never be able to capture Mengsk. I'm giving you a direct order to return to your position and reinforce my troops.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir, but it seems your signal's fading out. I couldn't make out that last part. I'll try to re-establish contact later.
Duran! Captain, your position will be overrun by superior Zerg numbers within 15 minutes. I suggest you retreat back to the fleet immediately. Inform Admiral Dugal that I have a personal matter to take care of.
I love that scene, by the way. Absolutely love it. Oh, by the way, they really do have a ton of Zerg show up right at the end of the mission. Just to start mulching through things. So yeah. Very wonderfully Duran there. He is so just... See, the thing is, Duran has a just in addition to his lack of pride thing, he has a total absence of respect for everything and everyone around him other than Amon himself. He's basically just, no, I'm pretty sure that you're completely screwed, Admiral. Now here's the thing. The question has been levied many times. Why is it that Stukov didn't just inform the Admiral, Dugal, of what's going on in the betrayal? The answer is he couldn't. They were in a radio... They didn't have contact, basically. They could not actually get a hold of the fleet, radio in and say, by the way, Admiral, he's a traitor. We don't know if they couldn't do it because of distance or because nobody was on the comms. I personally think the actual reason behind it is really obvious. It's because Duran was literally blocking the channel. Because the next thing we have happen is the only word that gets back about what's going on comes from Duran. Duran is the one who comes back and is like, hey, so, by the way, Admiral Stukov has betrayed you. And note the way that certain events are going to be laying out here for the next cutscene. Captain, they sadly got away, but we've just received word right here, when I need you to be distracted, that the disruptor is still active. And it's like, oh, wow, clearly the Admiral, this evidence is incontrovertible. Admiral, you must kill your friend. By the way, the next thing you're going to point out is probably, well, why didn't the Captain say anything about this? I've had a theory for a long time that pretty much from the moment the Captain encountered Duran, the Captain was either mind-controlled or infested or both. And literally was no longer thinking with his own right mind in these efforts, especially since basically everything the Captain does from now on services Duran's plans, not really the UED's. The UED is always secondary from this point on. So that's, of course, just a theory. But the only possible plot hole here is the fact that the Captain does not speak up and say, by the way, Stukov said he's going to deal with something and Duran's a traitor. Now, it could be a plot hole. It could be a plot hole that the Captain doesn't speak up and mention that. But, first of all, that's a colossal plot hole. That is huge. I mean, that's just... That's city-sized. You could just shove a whole city through it. There is no way in hell that they have a plot hole that big. That gargantuan in Brood War. I'm sorry. Second of all, though... that wouldn't surprise me, Nerazaz. Honestly, it wouldn't. Second of all, like I said, we have the problem of the fact that the Captain is not actually a character. So, he technically doesn't have a voice. I'm telling you, they really should have just moved away from the PC viewpoint characters and just done the Warcraft 3 thing here, but whatever. What are they showcasing? It's a Legacy of the Void thing. I already bought the game. I don't... Yeah. So this is the next mission where Duran will basically play everyone like a like a fiddle.
Admiral, the fugitives Mengsk and Raynor escaped through the warp gate due to the intervention of the Zerg. But shortly before our forces were overrun, Vice Admiral Stukov took control of a large contingent of troops and came here to the planet Braxis.
Why would he abandon the battle on Aiur? Why has he come back to Braxis?
I mean no offense, Admiral, but perhaps Stukov's loyalties are not as strong as you once believed.
Because you are young and foolish, Lieutenant, I will pardon that insult. Alexei and I have been friends since long before you were born. However, he must be found. If Stukov is here, he will account for his actions.
Admiral, our sensors have detected a fully functional psi disruptor on the planet's surface directly below our position. It would appear that the Vice Admiral did not destroy the psi disruptor on Tarsonis as was ordered.
What? Impossible!
I warned you, Admiral. Stukov has betrayed you. He's reconstructed the psi disruptor in order to sabotage your mission in this sector.
I can't believe it. Yet, the evidence is incontrovertible. Alexei, what have you done? Perhaps you've been right all along, Lieutenant. On my authority, enter the psi disruptor and deal with the Vice Admiral appropriately.
Of course, Admiral.
So, I know some of you caught it in chat. There are at least 3 instances where Duran's voice slipped there. Which I find interesting because most of that is slipping into the Kerrigan, the Zerg voice. Once it actually slips into his, what I like to call his real voice, the voice he will actually be using in that one mission that we will not be seeing until pretty much the end of Brood War. The psi disruptor prevents the Zerg swarm from functioning. The swarm specifically, not the Zerg. Basically, the Zerg all have that ability to communicate with each other. That's how the swarm functions. The disruptor disrupts that, so that an overlord can't control a Zergling, can't control a Hydralisk, etc., etc. So they can't coordinate. They're effectively just a bunch of mindless beasts at that point. It also prevents Zerg from functioning normally. So in addition to being mindless beasts, they're also mindless beasts whose brains aren't working right. So it's a pretty useful tool for anti-Zerg function. One of the things I like about this whole thing, there's basically 2 possibilities here for what happened with Dugall. One, he's got the idiot ball. But as I've been rewatching these, it occurs to me more and more that it's actually, and I hate myself to keep blaming everything on Duran, but it is entirely possible Duran is directly controlling Dugall, and has been basically since the first time he was in a briefing with him. Seriously. There are only really 2 explanations for why Dugall is such a moron here. He has the idiot ball, possible, or he has the, or he's been mind controlled, and it looks like Mike Morhaine's actually announcing something. Holy crap! Yeah, it's one of those 2 things. Either he's mind controlled or he's an idiot. Take your pick. I also love how Duran just kind of feeds him with the ideas that were obviously already there. Let me rewind a bit and explain. I am like 5 minutes behind you guys on the stream or something, because he just announced the DLC mission pack thing on my stream. Anyways, I have to pause for a second anyways for lunch, so I might do that and pay attention for a little bit more of this. But anyways, so, Nova. Poor Nova. You know what? I think I'll go ahead and pause now. I do have to. I'm actually having some pain issues. We'll start this mission in just a bit, and I will be back shortly to continue Brood War. Sorry, guys.